All right, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call to order this study session on code enforcement operations here on the afternoon of January 21st. Tony, would you please call the roll?
Present. Cohen. Here. Ortiz. Present. Mulcahy. Present. Duan. Here.
Candelas.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Casey.
Here.
Kamei.
Here.
Mahan.
Here.
Did I say Cohen? I called out of order. Did I call Cohen? Yeah. Okay.
I thought so. Was everyone's name called? Okay. We have a quorum. We are ready to jump in. I want to thank Chris, Rachel, and the team for putting together this very thorough presentation. Look forward to getting through the content. We'll then go to discussion amongst the council, and we'll save some time toward the end for public comment. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Chris Burton, Director of Planning, Building, Code Enforcement. I'm joined today by Rachel Roberts, our Deputy Director for Code Enforcement, Vance Chang with the City Attorney's Office. And then in putting together this presentation and our work around re-engineering, we've partnered with the City Manager's Office. So we have Peter Hamilton here, who's been a part of that team, as well as Angel Rios, Deputy City Manager. So, thanks for spending the afternoon with us and taking a deep dive into the world of code enforcement. We've got a lot of content to get through. We're trying to balance giving you, enough information without completely overwhelming you and sort of giving you absolutely everything. But what we're going to do is we're going to give you sort of a brief overview up front, talk about sort of what is code enforcement, get into some of the sort of background and history of how the division within PBCE has evolved. And then we're going to really use the notion of cases, code enforcement cases, as kind of our deep dive to talk about process and the tools that we have available to us as a part of that process. Through this discussion, we're certainly owning the challenges that we have. I'm going to be really upfront about that, and we'll close out talking about the re-engineering and the operational improvements and pilot programs that we've already got underway, as well as doing a touch on the operational assessment and re-engineering that we're doing in coordination with our consultant. And I'm pleased to say we have our consultant, Nicole Ederer with Guidehouse, is joining us today, so you'll be hearing from her a little later on. So with that, we'll jump in. So, what really is code enforcement? We talk about PBCE a lot. We all know the sort of planning and building aspect. But really, code enforcement is just another sort of core of what we do. And it's really about how do we uphold, local laws and ordinances that the City Council passes on private properties. So we're maintaining and sort of maintaining those properties, ensuring that we're compliant with building standards, land use requirements, and making sure that public health and safety are foremost throughout those properties. And we do that through a process of compliance. Ultimately, code enforcement is a process of intervention. We have legal tools which we can use to help property owners understand where they're in violation with the municipal code or other codes that we use. And then it's all about how do we process to ensure that they come into compliance. But why PBCE, right? Why is it sort of part of this? And it's really sort of integral to the work that we do as a department, because we see it as an extension of that process. So obviously all well aware of the work that we do through, planning and the designation of land uses and how we think land should be used, through sort of the permitting process, whether it's entitlements or building permits. But then how does that property then sort of get maintained? How is it used appropriately? How do we ensure that there's compliance throughout that continuum? And that's why the three components of PBCE are really together. And there's a lot of interrelation. So when you talk about issues around building standards, there's a lot of coordination and collaboration between code enforcement and building. When we talk about uses or sort of historical uses or legal non-conforming status, there's a lot of back and forth between our planning team and code enforcement. There's also a considerable amount of coordination that goes on with other departments through the city. And again, just to give you a different slant on how we sort of think about that, our work in PBC really revolves around the built environment. And when we're talking about modification of that environment, obviously we have a process. It's not just planning and building, it's fire, it's public works as well, where you go through that permitting process. If somebody's avoiding that process or they have improvements that haven't used that process, then it becomes a code enforcement issue. And then beyond that, when you think about maintenance and preservation of that same built environment, especially when you're thinking about things like health and safety, around public health and welfare, around maintenance of buildings and areas, we talk a lot about the work that is done throughout the city and public property, obviously public works, the work that Beautify does through PRNS. But when it's on private property, that's when code enforcement comes in. So that's the sort of nature of our work.
So what is the code? So when we talk about the code, what we're talking about is the San Jose Municipal Code. And a common misconception is that we actually enforce on the public property, when actuality, our work centers on regulations that govern private property. And we use outreach and education and administrative enforcement tools to do that work. So some of the key ordinances that we enforce include substandard housing, and the building code, community preservation ordinance, which is our blight code, as well as the zoning code. And then we also have chapters such as 1.14 and 1.15, which outline for us how we can utilize those enforcement tools in our process of enforcement. So when we're enforcing the code, it really comes down to a partnership between ourselves, code enforcement, as well as the public or property owners. And so while we have the responsibility to respond to those complaints or initiate investigations on private property that are having violations or posing issues, by conducting inspections, identifying those violations, and utilizing the outreach and education and our enforcement tools to bring that property into compliance. We also need our property owners to take the necessary steps to bring the property into compliance. And so our enforcement work, these have to happen together. They can't happen independent of one another. It's also important that we look at who our customer is. So we refer to our customers in two ways. We have our complaining parties, and we also have our responsible parties. And in our world, these are both our customers. And so on the complaining party side, most often we see those folks to be our community members and our tenants. But it can also be a neighborhood group, an organization, or even city council or another department or agency. And then on the responsible party side, the primary customer there is our property owner, who's legally responsible for rectifying any violations or code issues that are on that property. Ultimately, that responsibility lands with them. However, we will interact often with a legal representative of the property owner, an attorney that's representing the property owner, also a business owner, or even property managers. So you can imagine, just given this picture here, that we can be working with any number of customers on any given case. And so to share a little bit about the programs that we oversee, unlike other agencies who mostly focus on rental housing and property maintenance and vacant buildings, we have quite a variety of programs housed here in code enforcement. So first, our primary core services being general code and multiple housing. Our general code program, which is our general funded program, is responsible for responding to violations and addressing violations on all single, two-family, commercial, industrial, vacant private property within the city limits. And then we have our multiple housing program, which is a fee-funded program, and they're responsible for doing proactive inspections as well as complaint-based inspections on any residential building that has 3 units or more. So this includes not just apartments, but also single-room occupancy type dwellings, hotels and motels, and also our fraternity and sororities. In our last, as of the close of last fiscal year, we have reached 6,752 buildings in that program, and 102,862 units that we're responsible for inspecting. The CDBG program is a grant-funded program, and that's really an enhanced version of our multiple housing program, and it provides those services in our low and moderate income neighborhoods and Project Hope areas as determined under the guidelines of the Community Development Block Grant requirements. And they're really providing an enhanced level of service to these areas, not only doing the routine inspections, but also addressing any property and surrounding issues in the neighborhoods and attending community meetings and neighborhood group meetings directly with the tenants. Our special programs is also fee-funded, and we have 8 inspectors serving those different programs, and those range from anything from the vacant buildings to the tobacco retail license, and these programs are designed to really respond to those niche issues and specific concerns in our community. And then we have other services. A lot of folks don't know, but we have the local enforcement agency in code enforcement, and they're actually a branch of the state, and they do enforcement and inspections to check for compliance with state regulations regarding landfills and recycling facilities. So we have 3 inspectors that are providing service for that program. And then we have other services which are not directly funded but are provided through the general fund resources, such as fireworks and mobile vendor enforcement. And so here we've taken a little further dive in the programs that we've just shown to share how those resources are distributed through our organization. And so on the left, starting with the blue, you can see the resources, not only in the inspectors, but also our management resources dedicated to our multiple housing and CDBG programs. In the orange, we have our general code resources, followed by the special programs in pink, and then our local enforcement agency in green. And then the purple or burgundy color is, those are our managers and support staff, providing support to all staff in all programs.
And so total, that represents about 45 code inspectors. We have about 9 supervisors over that. There's 71 positions in code enforcement overall. Certainly not how you'd sort of wake up one day to design that org chart or that list of programs. So we wanted to give a little bit of the context and the background of history without sort of getting too far into it, but to kind of give you a sense of where we're at relative to today. This top line just shows the number of inspectors positions we've had budgeted going back to 1994-95. We had about 150,000 less residents at this point. And we're about on par, right? So we were 44 then, we're 45 now. We reached a peak of 63 right around the turn of the millennium. But what's more kind of important, and we're going to dig in just a little bit on this, is how that's transitioned under time. So the 2 bars underneath represent the number, the gold orange color is the number of general code inspector positions we've had versus the number in special programs. And you can see that that's changed significantly, really starting sort of around the Great Recession, post-Great Recession. And there's a number of things that were going on during that period. Obviously, the budget situation within the city, our general code positions are largely funded by the general fund. About 13 of the 15 positions in general code are general funded. The rest of our staff are fee funded through those special programs. And so as we hit challenges around the general fund during that period, and we had to meet general fund reductions, that's when we started to really rely on those special programs to kind of pick up the gap. And when you think about as a department overall, PBCE is largely somewhere in the region of about 95% fee funded. So whenever there's a general fund impact to the department, typically code has had to absorb that because it's usually been the biggest sort of piece of the general fund that we have. And so that's where you really see that transition. The other really significant thing that was going on around that period was around 2011 with the loss of redevelopment. So with the S&I programs, there were special programs that were funded in those S&I areas in code enforcement. So again, it was another source of revenue as a department that we lost to sort of provide those services. Just to kind of give you a sense of some of the other things, I'm going to sort of narrow the window down, so just go from Great Recession to sort of today, to that sort of 15-year window. The blue line in this is no longer, we're not talking about budgeted positions, these are filled positions. So you can kind of see the impact that we've had on workforce over time. So in addition to sort of losing some of those spaces, there was a lot of disruption in many departments, certainly in PBCE during that period, where we lost a lot of institutional knowledge, a lot of inspectors. You'll also see that decline again as we kind of ramped down through COVID. The orange line in this case is actually our total open caseload, so the number of cases that are currently active during a given year in excess of those that we've opened and closed. And where you see that decline in staffing, we hit that sort of point around 2011. And since then, we've really averaged an increase of about 200 cases a year over what we could close within that same time period. The exception to that is the period during COVID, when obviously our workforce couldn't go out into people's homes. There were restrictions. Also, a lot of our staff were redeployed through that period. And we actually jumped almost 1,000 cases just in that period alone. So you can see the sort of where the resources are sort of impacting our open caseload. In addition, you can really see sort of how that funding shift and programmatic shift really took place. As Rachel mentioned, our multiple housing program, which is the blue bar in the middle, really started to sort of increase. There are currently 102,000 units citywide in that program. It's tiered in very different ways. It gets really complex when we try and describe it, but that is a fee-funded program. Property owners are paying through their registration into that program, so we're going out and doing those inspections that's sort of generating additional caseload. But you can see that sort of, again, that pretty steady decline in our available resources to general code, which is the sort of complaint-based work that we do out in the community. And then lastly, just sort of on our timeline, I think the other really critical aspect we wanted to talk about was the change in scope. And it's not just to say that the scope has changed, in sort of quantity, although, we were at 56 inspectors with 11 programs in 2008. We're currently at 45 inspectors with 12 programs. There's also other things that go on during that period. So in 2011, we started to work in medical marijuana. Right, and that work hasn't gone away, but it's since the last budget cycle, that's been absorbed into general code. So in addition to this sort of increase in demand, we've seen an increase in complexity and an ever-evolving business model around very sort of specific uses that the council has had an interest in looking at and sort of regulating further. Part of the challenge we see in balancing the work is when we're talking about special programs that tend to be special funded, then there's restrictions on what we can use that staff for outside of that program. So it's not a case of saying, well, let's do less of this and more of something else, because often those funds are really restricted to the program with which they've been associated. So with that, we're going to take a deep dive into cases so we can really talk about process, tools, and the steps that we have.
Thank you. So at the end of the day, whether an investigation is opened proactively or we receive a complaint, it all comes down to cases. Any complaint received or proactive inspection, we start as a case. And we categorize the cases based on the type of violation that's reported. Most often it falls into one of these 5 buckets, so either blight, building, substandard housing, zoning, or solid waste, or it may be classified under another case type such as fireworks. Sometimes cases, as you can imagine, would have multiple violations in them when they are first reported. And so in those instances, we do have kind of a hierarchy of how we categorize cases. So it's not unusual to have a building case that also has zoning violations as well as blight or even solid waste violations wrapped in it. And cases are also categorized according to priority, which determines our standard response timelines when we first begin our complaint investigation. So once the case is created, it's going to take one of 2 paths. If it's a proactive, programmatic inspection for one of our regulated uses, such as the multiple housing or a special program, those most often are opened proactively, and those move straight to investigation because the inspector is initiating that case and that start of that work. If it's a complaint that's received from the public, it takes on another classification, which is the priority level, and those are 3 different types. So we have emergency, priority, and routine. Our emergency cases are those that are posing an imminent hazard to the public in terms of their health and life safety. And so in those instances, it's important that we respond sometimes immediately, depending on the nature of the complaint, but at a minimum within 24 hours. We also have a priority complaint response, and these are still pretty significant issues in the community, but not quite imminent based upon the report. And so for those cases, we set a goal of responding in 3 business days. And then we have for more quality of life and more routine type of concerns is our routine case complaint response priority, and those are responded to within 15 days. Since we have improved our staffing levels over the last few years. I'm really happy to say we've been able to really improve these response times as well. And so we are going to dig a little bit more into our general code caseload, but before we do that, we did want to highlight just the activity that's happening within our programmatic caseload. So you can see here, just taking a look at last year's activity, while general code has about 60% of our open active cases, there's still a ton of work going on in these special programs and proactive inspection programs. So with multiple housing, we can't tackle all 6,000 plus buildings in one calendar year, so those are broken out for inspection over tiers. And so we set a goal each year to inspect a certain number of buildings so we can stay on target with our performance measures. And so last fiscal year, we inspected 1,747 buildings and over 8,500 units. And that resulted in us resolving over 11,800 violations. Our CDBG program, focusing again on those low moderate income properties, performed 664 unit inspections. And then with our special programs, we were able to perform a combined 1,097 inspections. Local enforcement agency did 240, and these are just the required inspections they're required to do annually. And then we also processed over 1,200 fireworks reports. So taking a closer look at our general code active caseload history, as Chris was just explaining, we really see starting in 2008 to 2011 or so, we start to see that 200 case increase year over year until we get to the time of the pandemic, where we see a big jump in cases. And so looking at the table, you can see that each year we are, keeping pace with the incoming caseloads, seeing that most of the time we're resolving just about as many cases that come in new, trying to break even there, but on average we're still adding about 200 cases on average to our caseload each year. But you can see, looking at that delta, there's that big jump in 2021 where we added close to 900 cases that year. And so what that results in is this active caseload, which is the cases that we are actively working and that are open and are part of our day-to-day work. Another misconception is how, with the case types and how they make up our active caseload. And so you can see this is a snapshot of our current caseload by type and by priority. And the majority of our open cases currently are classified as either building, substandard housing, or zoning cases. And normally we can work through our blight cases pretty quickly, and you can see there with our average time to closure that on average we're able to close a blight case within 57 days, as opposed to a building or zoning case that's taking much more time. And this is largely due to the fact that most of these cases require permits in order to resolve. A building permit, a zoning permit, or planning permit rather, or often both. And it also speaks to the amount of resources that's often required on behalf of the property owner to work through and bring that case into compliance, as well as the complexity of these case types, which adds to those timelines and our ability to get those cases in compliance. And we will also go into our enforcement process in a little more detail very shortly, but we did want to touch on some of the enforcement tools that we have available to us to do our enforcement work. And so we usually start with a notice, either official warning notice, a pre-citation warning letter, or an inspection notice. And really the goal there is to make the property owner who is responsible for correcting the violation aware of the violation on their property, what corrective actions they need to take to bring that property into compliance, and the potential for fines or penalties should they not comply. And as we saw with our FAST pilot program, that we actually do see a high percentage of compliance just through that notice process. And so we typically start with the notice as our first step in our enforcement process. Of course, when we aren't getting compliance as a result of those notices, we do have citations or our administrative remedy process available to us. And so we will move to a citation and a compliance order, or both, depending on the violations. And then if needed, if conditions at the property reach a level that it's posing an imminent hazard, or significant hazard to the public that we just can't, that we need to take action and intervene, we can go through the process to complete either a summary abatement or a proposed abatement. And then lastly, once we've exhausted that enforcement process and our administrative tools, or we've determined that a case is really in need of legal action, we can prepare that case for referral over to the city attorney's office to pursue a public nuisance lawsuit, a receivership, injunctions, et cetera. Okay, so this slide is to depict our full process. And while the core process, you can see in green there, is how we hope that our cases move through our enforcement process, it often takes many diversions and detours and different paths. And so you can see that our core process in the middle there in green is flanked by lots of other things, which include appeals that is part of our due process in the municipal code, that every person subject to a citation or compliance order has the right to appeal. It also shows our abatement process and then our appeals hearing board process, which takes quite a few steps to work through. But to help shed some light on that core process, we wanted to provide that core process a little more detail. And so any average case is going to go through these steps in terms of our enforcement process. So first, the case gets opened, and any case that we have open is going to get an initial inspection. Once we've done that initial inspection, if we've found violations, then we're going to move to that warning or inspection notice, as I was just speaking about. And again, that will have the violations identified. It will have the timeline to correct the problem, as well as how to correct the problem, as well as a timeline for compliance, and then the potential fines that they could face for noncompliance. And so once that due date has passed, then we move to a compliance inspection. There are instances where we are not able to get into the property if it's an interior violation or so forth, and so that may cause delays. But the hope is that we do get that compliance inspection. If they've reached compliance, great. If they have not, then we can move to the first step of enforcement, which starts there in the orange. And that's where we will issue either a citation or a compliance order or both. Again, it lays out all those details as I had explained in the warning notice step, and then we will also wait for that timeline for compliance to pass, and then we'll perform that compliance inspection, ideally within a few days of that due date. From there, if we continue to see noncompliance, then we can escalate it to the appeals hearing board. At the appeals hearing board stage, we actually have to prepare the case for the board. It's a notice of hearing that we have to provide all of our evidence and documentation and all the steps that we have taken in the case to date. And then we present a series of recommendations to the appeals hearing board on what the corrective actions we feel should be and what timeline for compliance, as well as one-time administrative costs, as well as a one-time penalty. And then any ongoing fines and penalties, we recommend being assessed if non-compliance should continue. And so once the board hears that case and takes action, they issue an administrative order, and we are required to follow that order. It's issued to the property owner, and they also have to follow that order to reach compliance. And so that order goes into effect, and following those due dates, we can then start our per-day penalties if they do not comply. Once those per-day penalties begin, then we have, per the code, up to $100,000 in penalties before that max penalty is reached. And at that point, if they're still in noncompliance, we would engage the city attorney's office about building a case for next steps and potential legal action. And so, looking at this escalation path, our current caseload, active caseload in general code, we have just under 60%, so 59% of our cases are currently in that enforcement stage. There are instances where we may be in enforcement and loop back to the investigation and then back to the enforcement, depending on what's happening with the case and the circumstances there, if new violations are entered and a new complaint is received. But for the most part, it's going to move through this process. And you can see there how many cases we have at each stage currently. So this is This is the data of our current active caseload, and so this just breaks that prior slide down just a little further in terms of numbers. And so you can see that we have 185 cases that are in that initial investigation stage. We haven't quite started the full investigation on those cases just yet, but we have a good number of cases in the investigation phase as well as the enforcement stage. And that just really speaks to, the amount of interaction and research and an investigation that goes into establishing those violations and evidence of those violations that's needed to move to that enforcement stage. And then the challenge and the complexity of bringing properties into compliance. And then we also wanted to touch on just the number of tasks or the total actions that go into working a case. These are the numbers of our open caseload based on each action we've taken in terms of investigation, enforcement, compliance, and then customer service or administrative tasks. So as of calendar year 2024, the general code team performed 32,459 total actions. 14,000 of those and just under 7,000 of those were either administrative or customer service. So either phone calls or a compliance order or a citation, something of that nature would fall into administrative and customer service. Whereas investigation, that number would include inspections, research, any type of steps they're taking to build the investigation for the case before they can move to the enforcement stage. And so we also felt it was really important to touch on the importance of this work. And so looking at numbers doesn't really put that human side to the work that we do. And one thing that I am very proud of is just hearing from our staff and how important the work is to them and how important the work is to our customers. And so this is from an actual case where our inspector, and he has a quote there reflecting on this case, but we had received a complaint from the community and we went out to investigate and found that this home was, that there was an elderly woman living in with this home alone. And she did not have any family nearby, and she was living in conditions that were considered substandard housing violations, as well as some life safety issues as far as egress. So clearly there were concerns. And so while we're required to respond and address those violations, we also recognize that this person needed our support and assistance in resolving those violations. And so we were able to connect with a neighbor who was very helpful and supportive, as well as a brother of the occupant. And they were able to relocate her to a much safer living situation. And we were able to bring in some cleaning services that connecting the owner and the neighbor with some cleaning services so that they can have those services brought in to address the property. And so you see some before and after there. And so those really are situations that, are having a real impact in people's lives and ensuring their health and safety.
So we wanted to just expand on some of the challenges that obviously occur through our work in code enforcement. First and foremost is the legal structure within which we work. So for that, I'm going to hand it over to Vance.
So just on a big picture look at the legal issues faced by the department, code enforcement frequently consult with the city attorney office to tackle difficult cases. Usually the most difficult matters involve those with deceased property owners or absentee property owners. And sometimes we also deal with owners or residents suffering from either health issues or mental health issues. Two key issues to consider before taking enforcement action. First, code enforcement need to think about making sure they have the evidence to support the violation. And in some situations, especially if the property owner refused to allow entry to the property, the code enforcement would need to seek city attorney's office, our help, to obtain a warrant to conduct inspection of the property. Second, when issuing the citation of penalties, we need to consider the due process and make sure those that right is followed. This means that the property owners must be given proper notice of the alleged violation and a right to be heard and an opportunity to contest the violations. So ultimately, if the property owner refused or failed to correct the violations, then code enforcement can refer the matter to the city attorney office to consider further civil action. Some of the legal remedies available to the city include getting a court order, which in this case is an injunction, that restrains a person from continuing the violation or compels the person to carry out a certain act. We can also try to impose civil penalties against the violator, or in some cases, we can also appoint a neutral third party known as a receiver to take control of the property.
Excuse me for a minute. Could you move closer to the
Sorry.
microphone? Thank you.
Yes. So we can also appoint a neutral third party receiver to take control of the property. That's subject to the litigation.
Thanks, Vance. So another area where we, where we really see challenges is the level of complexity that we find between two cases. And they may seem like the same cases sort of entering into that process. So we wanted to kind of show you a little bit of that side-by-side comparison and just talk about why we tend to see these sort of big swings in the time it takes to close cases. So in these two examples, the first one is something we see quite a bit of, is overgrown vegetation. Our standard practice is to send out a routine letter whenever we get a complaint around that. Then we sort of, we wait a period, we move to inspection. Under the best case scenario, somebody's read that letter, they've taken care of the issue, we go out, there's no violation, the case is closed within 19 days. If we go out and the violation's still there, then we get into that process, that whole escalation that Rachel walked through, those different steps. Obviously, there's an off-ramp at any point in that process diagram. When somebody comes into compliance, our entire process is geared around how do we help people get to that point. But to the extent we need to continue to escalate through that path, it can take considerably longer. And so you can see that two cases we go into that look the same at sort of, just as overgrown vegetation can either be, 20 days or 180 days. The same is true, and probably more so when we get into sort of building code issues. And to kind of give you a frame of reference on this, if the first case was somebody called in a complaint, they were concerned around an accessory structure or a shed, right? And they're saying, well, they've built that without a permit. There are certain conditions in the code where you can, right? It allows you to have, certainly prefabricated structures like that, just a regular shed in the backyard. And it doesn't necessarily require a permit. So we would go out, we would investigate, sort of do our research, and then potentially, we speak to the property owner, there's no violation. Again, maybe done in 20 days. If it's, something that somebody's living in, which is something that happens quite often, if it's an unpermitted addition to the house, then we get into that escalation path. Now here, the added complexity is that we're saying, in addition to sort of making sure you're in compliance, now you need to go through a permit process as well. And it's not just the sort of process which we know and talk about sort of challenges around some of those processes. That homeowner's got to go out, they've got to find an architect or, a contractor that's working with them. They've got to get through the process. They've got to do any follow-up work. So that really kind of stretches out that timeline. And so from sort of our perspective, these are all sort of cases that we deal with on a regular basis. The complexity can shift, but it also means that, we really sort of do stand by the fact that no two cases are the same. So while we look for sort of efficiencies and ways to kind of continue to manage around this, we often sort of struggle because the conditions in any two cases are very, very different. Now, if this slide gives you anxiety or seems overwhelming, that's the intent. I'm not going to certainly read through these. These are just typical things that we will hear from our customers. And it's really about we have to balance these interests from different sides. Obviously, we've got property owners, sometimes it's landlords, sometimes it's tenants, that are trying to work through this issue. Quite often, and certainly, when we look at that case that Rachel had up just to show the impact, code enforcement cases are often a symptom of something else going on with either the property or the individual that lives there. And so quite often what we're trying to balance is how do we help them resolve the issue and therefore come into compliance as a result of that. At the same time, we're hearing from the community. Our general code program is a complaint-based system, right? So, occasionally it's one property owner. Often it's multiple property owners that have the same concern. And so we're balancing not just those interests, but also the communication and the customer feedback with multiple stakeholders on every case. I think we've had as many as 20 complaining parties on a single case. And each time we're making changes or working through that, we're trying to communicate with everybody and really be proactive about keeping people updated. But through that, we get a lot of feedback, right? We hear from our customers a lot. And, we do hear from, customers that are positive about the work we do, especially when we're sort of impacting people's lives for the better. We do hear good feedback. But there is a lot of frustration, and I know you as City Council are hearing that as well, just about, communication, about understanding the process, around, why isn't it fixed yet? So we do take that, very seriously. It's something as we're starting to think about this next phase of code enforcement, we look to really learn as an opportunity to continue to change our process. The other really valuable voice, and again, Rachel touched on this already, is our staff. And, it really is a privilege to work with our staff. They're incredibly committed to the work they do and working to those people whose lives they're trying to improve. That being said, it's really hard to be in that juxtaposition of those balancing interests. But we do have really committed staff, and they do work really hard to sort of, keep people engaged, to talk about the process, to talk about the cases with individuals that are interested. But that, given the volume of cases that we have, obviously that's a tough job to be in. So, within that, I think there are definitely some positives. I think there's aspects of our programs that are really going well right now. And we continue to celebrate those wins. We do, as you saw from the previous slide, there's a considerable amount of customer service and outreach that goes on. We really sort of take that as a central point of all the work that we do. We continue to adapt in all those shifting programs. We've worked really hard to get out to our initial responses on time. We're measuring that, like that's part of our ongoing operational meetings on a bi-weekly basis. We know exactly where we're at with our caseloads and how our responses are going. And then I think you've also, in those really bad cases in a number of council districts, you've seen us actively make that difference where we're out there working with our contractor and going out and doing abatements on properties where we've been through that path of escalation and actually got to that point where we need to bring somebody else in to take care of that issue. So there's a lot of really good positives out there, but that's not to say that there aren't a lot of areas where we need to improve. And we certainly see that, we certainly hear that from our customers as well. Certainly, when you look at the complexity of that path of escalation through the process, we know that there's more we can do there, and we've been exploring ways that we'll talk about shortly in how we can do that. The largest part of our, and we haven't used this word yet, and I've just noticed it made it onto this slide, we talk about backlog. It's not actually a backlog. It's not that there's 4,000 cases that are sitting somewhere waiting to be worked on. It's our open active caseload, right? And so there are 4,000 cases that are currently active and open. The vast majority are actually building issues. And so, we know we need to get into that open caseload. We know need to sort of work on the coordination between between building and code to help streamline that process and move people through. We continue to work around case management and data reporting. It's an area where we've been weak. We've had a number of audits focused on code enforcement explicitly that have all called out our technology platform. So that's something that we've been working on. And then how do we continue to expand our external partnerships? So, we're really trying to define that problem and that sort of how do we get to that sort of situation that we find ourselves in. And it's a number of different things, right? These sort of divergent realities that we've experienced over the last 10 to 15 years, where we've seen the impacts of funding shifts and the impacts of staffing shifts. We've seen that increase in case volume and the changing nature of cases. We're constantly trying to balance that and work around our change in scope. And so as part of that and part of the work moving forward, we've really worked hard to define kind of our problem statement and then our goal statement moving forward. And that's to say that, as we look at the work we do in code enforcement, we continue to operate in a very complex regulatory environment that is definitely influenced by competing interests, as well as some of the underlying socioeconomic challenges we see throughout the city. And that these things together can delay the resolution of the case, of the violations that we see. but also that it's creating those gaps in communications, certainly with the community. It's increasing a lot of frustration with stakeholders and community members, and ultimately that's diminishing public trust in the work that we do. And so that's a problem that we take seriously, right? And so everything we're doing is really working to how do we make change there. So our goal, as you'll see, kind of laying out this next phase, is to think in sort of three aspects, and it's about streamlining process, prioritize their services, and then make targeted investments around technology resources and then partnerships ultimately, so we can strengthen that community trust, we can expedite that complex process, and then maintain, you know, a safe and vibrant city. But it takes a lot, right? There's multiple pieces of that puzzle that have to come together to make that work. So, you know, staffing's a piece, technology is certainly a piece. It's also how we manage our services, how we work within the department to create a streamlined service delivery model. It's about public engagement and resources. We've seen a number of successes around increasing public understanding of what code violations are. And then it's also how do we do a better job of engaging the community and our stakeholders so that they're a part of the solution, right? Code enforcement really is an intervention when we see a problem with a sort of process that leverages somebody to do something. So how do we engage people to sort of help get ahead of that? So with that, we're just going to sort of dive into a little bit of kind of our re-engineering work. We're going to talk a little bit about the work that we have underway and the pilots that we've been running over the last 18 months, just to kind of give you a sense before we kind of touch on the overall kind of re-engineering. And as I said, our strategy for those operational improvements falls into three areas. So it's streamlined. So how do we take our process and that complex process that we have and continue to work to sort of, you know, narrow the gaps, you know, streamline the process, focus on service delivery so we get to resolution quicker. It's prioritize. How do we take those cases that are most visible, most impactful, and ensure that we're acting on them quickly and effectively to get to resolution, really hitting at the pain points that both, you know, the city but also the community are really experiencing. And then lastly, how do we invest? Where are the areas that we can continue to support our team by providing them the resources and the tools that they need? So with that, we're just going to go over three examples of work that we've done so far before we get to the operational assessment.
So our FAST pilot program was really a great opportunity for us to put some of those into action, specifically with streamlining. Or the whole premise for this program was to provide upfront, robust outreach and education, bringing those constituents in, helping them to understand not only the codes, but also how to come into compliance ahead of our inspection and enforcement. And so it really gave us an opportunity to streamline our ability to address blight violations because we were able to help those community members in that program understand those expectations so that by the time we got out there, most of those violations had been resolved. And so here we see under the pilot program, we used expedited enforcement, again, the proactive outreach and education. We focus on the most common blight violations, which is how we prioritized in the areas with the highest number of blight complaints. And then we also had a dedicated team as part of that pilot. And then we invested, shifting some of those general code, general funded resources to this pilot, and then really building upon our partnerships with other city departments to help us in our effort actually administering some dumpster days in conjunction with our pilot, making sure the areas we were inspecting and serving had a cleanup day scheduled ahead of our inspection, so that it just gave them that added tool and resource to hopefully have their property in good shape and avoid any sort of enforcement or citations. And so through that program, which actually spanned about 5 months of actual inspection and engagement and enforcement, compared to normal operations, took more than or less than half the time. We were able to address over 13,000 parcels in that time frame, and we were able to open 463 cases. And you saw a significant decline in our open case duration, also cutting the time in half from case open to resolution. And then one of the most compelling things was the compliance rate. And so we actually saw the majority of our customers who had violations at the start of the program were already in compliance before we did that first compliance inspection and thus avoided a citation. So we saw really good results, and also the benefits, obviously, of streamlining as well as that prioritization and investment. Our Downtown Enhanced Vacant Building and Storefront program, which I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about, is another effort to streamline, prioritize, invest. And this one's really focused around that prioritization, targeting and focusing in on our most chronically vacant and blighted buildings. This one also has some dedicated resources, but we're really focused on that intervention piece, and we've building out a multi-department working group that's helping us, really leverage our intervention role by bookending that with some efforts on prevention and restoration and intervention from our other city departments. So you see here we have our list of our priority properties, and this is it's an open active list, meaning that we are adding properties as needed, but these are the ones that we're actively working on currently. And so then just to touch on that a little further, this really has been successful because of the new approach we've taken to the enforcement of vacant buildings and storefronts, and we're seeing very good results in the short time that we've launched this program. It also includes some expedited enforcement. Really, with that dedicated resource, it's allowed us to be more nimble and move more quickly through that enforcement process. And by focusing on the downtown and having a specific area, that's also allowed us to expedite our process. And so you can see there on the chart that we've been able to be more proactive, increasing our quarterly monitoring, so try and intervene more quickly to prevent buildings from reaching that chronically blighted state. And that in turn has decreased our monthly monitoring, which properties in violation are the only ones that end up in the monitoring. So it's been good to see that number decline as well. And then we're well underway with our technology enhancements. Our current system is a Windows 98 system, and so we are so excited to be finally embarking on this technology enhancement journey. Our vendor is Infinite Solutions, and the product is Code X. We kicked off the project in the fall of 2024, and we're currently in the requirement gathering session. And you can imagine going from a 1999 software to today is going to give us, we're expecting a ton of good results with some really significant service delivery efficiencies, not only in the office but in the field, especially. The hope is to use tablets and that kind of thing in the field. Improve customer service, which would also improve our communication, being more timely with our customers and more transparency, and then just giving us those insights into our data and performance so that we can really zero in on the areas that need most improvement.
So in the last budget cycle, we received $200,000 as well as direction from the city manager to undergo an operational assessment or a re-engineering of our code enforcement process. So we've been working closely with the city manager's office. We're really happy to have Guidehouse on board as our consultant. I'm going to hand it over to Nicole, who's just going to give you an outline of kind of where things are with the scope, so you can get a sense of kind of what that work is going to look like.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Ederer with Guidehouse, and we've been brought on to partner with the Code Enforcement Division on this operational assessment. As Chris mentioned, this project is really aimed at enhancing the Code Enforcement Division's efficiency, capacity, and alignment with stakeholder expectations. We'll be taking a structured, phased approach to doing this assessment. Task one will really be focused on establishing the plan, setting the foundation for our work plan, refining our scope, and really getting clear expectations for the assessment, and creating a roadmap for how we'll execute. Task two is really centered around understanding the current state. We'll do this by doing a series of internal interviews with key stakeholders, also reviewing current documentation and data to assess services, staffing, and priorities. We will be analyzing operational workflows to identify pain points such as any bottlenecks in the process or rework, that sort of thing. And then lastly, we'll be looking at staffing levels to what is current and projected staffing levels, and aligning that with projected workloads. We will put all this together in a current state findings report to document any opportunities that, as well as strengths that we have identified through that process. Task 3 will really focus on kind of that external focus, really understanding what are the expectations of the customers, as well as city council, and that sort of thing. We'll really be focusing on identifying those service gaps that are in place right now. So we'll be doing this by interviewing key external stakeholders such as city council members, customers, community leaders, and then we will also be doing some customer research. And so we'll use that to evaluate the user experience, and this could be in the form of surveys or intercept interviews, counter observations, call listening. We'll certainly work with the Code Enforcement Division to determine, who are the best external stakeholders, as well as the best approach for capturing that customer, the voice of the customer. And then the other part of Task 3 will include some pure city benchmarking. So we'll look into code enforcement divisions in other cities and look for some leading practices maybe that we can take and apply here in San Jose. So this task will result in an operational report that will outline the key gaps and external challenges impacting service delivery. And then lastly, there'll be kind of this final assessment report that will is really focused on designing the future state. So we will start this by kind of coming up with that initial list of recommendations, focused on those overall key objectives that we've talked about today, streamlining service delivery, defining priorities, and resource planning, investing, and we will work with the division to really vet those recommendations, understand the level of effort and impact associated with each one of those, and use that to help us determine the short, mid, and long-term kind of sequencing for implementation. And so we'll build a high-level implementation roadmap to guide the phased execution of the changes. So yeah, to wrap this up, this assessment is really all about helping the Code Enforcement Division to be more efficient and customer focused. They're already doing a lot of really great things, as you guys have all learned today. But we're excited to continue our partnership with the city and to help bring this vision to life. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nicole. So yeah, once we have the operational assessment from Guidehouse, we'll be bringing that back to the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee on April 14th. I think the one thing just to sort of close out is that we see this as both a near-term opportunity to really look at our operations, but also think sort of slightly longer term. And I think one of the most important things we've heard so far through our customer engagement, through the vacant buildings program recently with a community meeting with the South First group who've been impacted by some of these properties, is we don't want to wait. We don't want to have to wait for a re-engineering to see progress. So our focus is very much about sort of what are the near-term actions we can take. You've seen some of the programs that we've started to implement. Every time we've done one of these pilots, we're taking those learnings and trying to integrate them into our existing service delivery model. Certainly some great learnings from the FAST program, from VBS. We know that technology is going to make an immediate impact. But then it's also how do we sort of extend that on? So how do we create, a philosophy and a culture within the department and within the division that really looks to continual improvement looks to sort of really focusing on delivering results and ensuring that we're sort of meeting the expectations of our customers, the community, the city council, but still providing that important service to those that really need it. So with that is our presentation. Apologies for it being a little long, but staff are available for questions.
Thank you, Chris, Rachel, and team. I appreciate the long presentation. I think it's much needed. That was very comprehensive, but I think worthwhile. First, as a reminder to colleagues, I should have mentioned this at the outset since we have some new colleagues on the council. The purpose of our study sessions is essentially to learn. It's not a place where we take action, but where staff or other guests provide content, insights, analysis, and then the council has an opportunity to ask questions, pose feedback, and ideas, and kind of have a dialogue with our professional staff, each other, and other guests. And then we'll have room for public comment and make sure we're incorporating feedback and questions from the community. Also remind folks that this is one of our 4 focus areas, not just code enforcement, but code is a component of one of our 4 focus areas, which has been creating clean, beautiful neighborhoods, right? We said at the outset with my first budget message 2 years ago that we were going to focus in on 4 areas for transformation: a safer city, a city where everyone is housed, a clean and beautiful city, and then attracting investment in jobs and housing. And code is one of the key tools for that goal of cleaner, more beautiful neighborhoods. We are hearing frustrations from the community. It's part of why we're here. We know that. I want to acknowledge that up front. And I want to make a point that I failed to make when we heard the audit on the Animal Care Services Center. We have frontline staff doing really hard work in difficult conditions. Understaffed, greater workload. I think the charts made that pretty clear. And I want to acknowledge that 2 things can be true. We can have staff doing their jobs, working incredibly hard, and doing their utmost to deliver, and still not be us as a city, which is really on us as council and senior management, not delivering the outcomes the community needs. And so I don't want any of our critiques, certainly don't want mine, to be taken as a critique of frontline staff. I want to say, actually, I really appreciate the hard work they're doing out there, and I'm grateful for it. I think we also, though, need to acknowledge that to the point that was made on one of the slides about balancing interests, I think many in our community, whether it's the small business owner who's been trying to keep a business alive next to a blighted building that scares away customers, or it's residents dealing with blight in their neighborhood, persistent graffiti, or frankly, very wealthy property owners who aren't maintaining very visible buildings that drag down property values and morale for the entire city, people don't feel that we've struck the right balance. And I think you point to many of the gaps, and I'm glad to see that the presentation, I want to also just recognize this, we don't often get staff presentations that say very bluntly, here's the stuff we're not doing well enough, and here's some next steps that we're taking to go do them better. So I appreciate that. I think it has been a long time coming, but I want to acknowledge that the presentation was pretty comprehensive, and I think points to where some of the real gaps are. My biggest frustration has been with the worst offenders, how long it seems to take to escalate. I was sort of horrified a year or so ago when I started digging into the Christ Church, the plastic wrap church, and come to find out, despite the pain point that it's been for all of us, we weren't even assessing fines yet after 2 years. And I think we need to have a culture of accountability in which, and I'm not talking about punishing grandma who can't afford it, but when we have high visibility, high impact, expensive properties, negligent, absentee property owners, we got to get to an escalation and real accountability, real consequences faster. And I think a question on my mind is, how quickly can we pull in the city attorney? You laid out a process map that was, frankly, very complicated. I'm sure it annoys your team as much as it annoyed me in looking at it. But can this council adjust city code to help take some steps out or to shorten the gap between? Can we make your lives easier? Can we help you get to all those worst actors that are high visibility, high impact? Can we help you get to the point where you're in the enforcement phase sooner?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'll take a stab at that, and then Rachel can kick me under the table if I'm wrong. So I think there's two parts to this, right? So firstly, I completely agree that we need a better framework for escalation. So and this is the point to prioritize, is how do we really elevate those cases that are real pain points? Understanding that we're balancing the workload, and it's not always about punishing grandma as much as it is about protecting, right, people that are in sort of dangerous or unsafe living conditions. But absolutely, how do we take those cases that are sort of most visible, most difficult, most sort of impactful to the community around us, and really streamline that escalation path? And we've definitely seen the opportunity to do that, right? So FAST has been an experience. I think the path we're on now with vacant buildings program in downtown has allowed us to see that, right? And so
Can I just ask on FAST, because I do want to make sure we hear from colleagues and I don't use all my time here. Was it faster because we just threw more people at it, which is not necessarily a sustainable and scalable approach for us, or did we actually streamline the process in some way?
We definitely streamlined the process.
Great.
I can go into more detail, but I mean, yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, how much of this is prescribed by our municipal code, or do we need to actually add to the IGR? We just talked to IGR a week ago. Are there state laws that are prescribing a very overly slow and onerous process that maybe in some cases doesn't feel appropriate to us?
So, and I think this is the important key around sort of framework of escalation, is that most of our process is dictated by the municipal code. I think there is leeway for us to sort of compress some of that process. Our approach to date has been pretty even across the board, right? And it's really been one that's focused on compliance. So it's sort of notification, inspection. This is what you need to do to get to compliance by this date. The difference was FAST was we skipped a lot of that, and we just went out and said, you're in violation. In the initial round of FAST, we didn't even say you're in violation. We just handed them the citation, and we got really good results, right? The next round, we said, okay, let's not go, quite so hard. Let's give them a notice and say we'll be back in 10 days, correct it, or we're going to cite you. And so, it's not. The challenges around FAST is it is very resource intense. You're looking at relatively small pockets of the city, so you can focus it really well to address areas where you have challenges, but it does streamline that process. It compresses the time between the steps.
Well, I'm glad we're doing that, and I will just say, when you come to NSC in April, I would really hope that you will suggest any Muni Code tweaks or other policy changes this council might make to make your lives easier. A couple other quick questions before I turn to colleagues. Total actions taken, bad metric. Now, I understand why you've got to track that. I just want to be really clear. I want to challenge staff to actually take that number and reduce total actions taken per case per outcome. We want fewer. It is not a badge of honor that we took 35,000 touch points on the cases. We want as few per outcome as possible. So I actually like that metric. We should actually, going forward, look at how do we get more outcomes per actions taken for our staff. Do we have high utilizers? I know when we look at our crime data, we find a lot of crime coming from a very small number of very troubled people. And I've been an advocate for better intervening, focusing on those high utilizers or repeat offense, whatever you want to, and finding appropriate intervention. May or may not be jail, but how do we intervene, get upstream of repeat offense, right? We see this play out over and over and over again. And I'm not talking about in terms of the people reporting, I'm talking about the properties. Do we have problematic properties that are in and out year after year where we need a different model, or we could put them off in a different pathway? There's usually some kind of Pareto principle where a small number of entities are generating the bulk of the work. Do we know?
So there's a limit on how much we know. Again, this is the technology investment will help us dig in on some of these questions a little bit more. As far as that sort of open active caseload, it's less of the sort of repeat offenders. It's more that what you'll see is those cases that are open for longer periods of time tend to be instances where we'll notify the property owner, they'll come into compliance for a period of time, right? And then they'll go back out of compliance. And so, whether that's a vacant building, whether that's, a homeowner with overgrown vegetation, we may not close the case, right? We may keep it open, but it's essentially the same as sort of a repeat.
Yeah. Well, I guess I want to know, or I want to ask you to consider when you implement this new upgraded technology, I'm glad we're getting off the Windows 98 version or whatever it was, are we going to be able to flag when this person what their history looks like? Because frankly, if somebody's repeatedly been a bad actor, I don't think we should just start from zero and run another 180-day process. We may want to accelerate faster, but you need good data analytics when you're talking about this kind of volume. So I just want to suggest that we do that. In the interest of just getting to colleagues, let me ask one more question and make a final comment, and then maybe I'll come back around. It looked to me like in slide 10, General Code had 15 FTEs, 13 of which were general funded. You guys made the point about general fund impact. I'm a little surprised, and I guess I'm curious, if only 2 out of the 15 are fee funded, are we just not getting to that many fines, or are the fines really tiny, or why? I mean, there seem to be plenty of code. It seems like we could be making money hand over fist. Just kidding. That's not the goal here. But it seems like we'd be issuing more fines that would generate more revenue that would fund these compliance roles, and that doesn't seem to be the case. So for special programs, they are fee funded, but for general code, why such a low funding ratio?
So general code is supplemented by those 2 fee-funded positions because one of them is vehicle abatement fees. That is, every code inspector is doing abatement work on inoperable vehicles, and so instead of spreading 10% across every inspector we have, it's just one position that's funded by that. And then we also have some solid waste money that is going in to support general code for the same reason, because most cases have some element of solid waste work. And
but I'm asking the opposite question. The 13 FTEs that are funded out of the general fund, if they are out there doing code enforcement, issuing citations, generating fines, and it's kind of like parking compliance. In theory, you're kind of covering some of your cost as you go out and do the enforcement. If you're not, maybe we don't need the staff, but I think we need the staff. So are we generating revenue to cover some of the costs of doing the enforcement?
Yes.
It seems like a very low ratio to me.
Well, hold on. I just want to preface that, and Jennifer's getting ready to jump in on this one. So the fines don't go to code enforcement, right? General fund pays for those 13 code inspectors. There's a challenge with saying that the funds received as a part of the citation process go to fund the staff, so they just go into the general fund.
Yes.
So in fact, let me just, and Jennifer, I'm sure you can help clarify this. Those general fund FTEs, the 13, are generating revenue as they do compliance that is also going to the general fund. So it's not a 100% hit on the general fund. I mean, in net,
Correct.
They're partly cost recovered.
Yes, but this is, yes, so thank you for the opportunity to clarify. So all of the administrative fines and penalties go into the general fund just as a general revenue, just like sales tax or property tax. And it's divorced from the amount of inspectors that the council chooses to fund on any given year. So it's a policy decision during the budget process to decide, with all of the revenues that come into the general fund, how much will go towards code versus police, or anything else. So I don't know it's not designed as a cost recovery program, so I'm not sure what that cost recovery ratio is, and I didn't ask them to look at that, but you certainly can, but it's not a 1-for-1. So all the revenues that they're getting, it's funding the general services of the general fund. And then it's up to the council in any given year to decide how many inspectors and supervisors we want that are outside of this special funded area.
Well, thank you. I think knowing the revenue, not that the goal is right, the goal is compliance and having a clean and beautiful city for everyone. But it would be helpful to know the revenue and a rough approximation of fee recovery to know if we can afford to add more and how much of an additional hit to the general fund that would even be, just as I put my budget hat on. But anyway, we can come to that offline. And then final comment, I think this study with Guidehouse is going to be really helpful. Appreciate you, Jennifer, pushing that forward. Look forward to the April report. I think the assessment's great. I want to push us before we close out this budget planning cycle and take that vote in June to add some goals and to identify how much progress we think we can make in the 25-26 fiscal year and work that into our city level dashboards. We already have a code metric in the city level dashboard for for clean neighborhoods. And I hope that in April, it's not just a comparison with other cities and kind of a big assessment like we just got, but that we actually set a target that's informed by that research that says, we think we can be this much X% better on the following metrics a year from now, and if there's any budget impact, that we're made aware of that as early as possible. I know the timing's not quite right here, but I think that would be important for the council to know before we vote in June. I don't want to wait another whole year to be able to action things that we need to do.
And we totally agree with you. That's why we're pushing for it to be in April before the manager's proposed budget. We've still got a couple of, 3 months really of budget deliberation time before the end of June.
Right.
Because we do want to make progress. As Chris has pointed out, the actions they're already taking absent this report, but then what's actionable and where can we hold ourselves accountable as we go forward into the next fiscal year. Even if we can't afford to add any more resources, we certainly can become more efficient and effective.
Exactly. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's go to Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to start off by saying, you know, they said it couldn't be done, but I just want to start off by saying I'm 100% in line with everything that the mayor just said in regards to code enforcement. I believe, honestly, that our city must get tough on these absentee landlords and just individuals who are not responsive to the needs of our city. And I assure you that all of our districts have these issues, and they just exacerbate continued problems in our neighborhoods. I also want to start out by thanking staff. I really appreciate your efforts. Thank you for our monthly one-on-ones, both Chris and Rachel. And I know that we've been in constant communication about the projects in my district, and I know that our staff are some of the hardest working staff, and they do everything that they can to make sure that the problems our residents raise are addressed. And so I just want to start out with that and just make sure that my appreciation shows. But, you know, that being said, you know, code enforcement continues to be one of the most important issues that impact my residents, whether it is single-family home code enforcements, people parking on their yards, people leaving construction equipment in front of their yards, trash, you know, small businesses, mom and pop shops are doing the same, or apartments, going to apartment slumlords in my district as well, cause a lot of problems to the surrounding community. And in many cases, to the public, as the mayor mentioned, there's a lot of frustration. There's a perception that we allow this to happen. And in theory, I mean, we do allow it to happen. That's the state of our community. And I'm glad that we're having this study session, and I'm glad that, you know, there's going to be work on NSC around this. I'm chair of the NSC committee, so I'm looking forward to those very important conversations. And so, really, when the mayor was speaking, I felt like we were reading the same notes. So I do have some aligned talking points to say. So in regards to, you know, consideration of mechanisms or tools to, you know, expand or increase, you know, enforcement, increase the heat, you know, on property owners, as we would also say. You know, I know it was mentioned, Chris, that there wasn't repeat offenders, but I happen to know, just especially in downtown, there's repeat offenders. I mean, there's some property owners who own 20 properties, you know, in downtown San Jose. And if we get, you know, some of these problematic property owners to start addressing, you know, so their abandoned properties, that could increase the vibrancy in downtown just in itself. So what options are we looking at, if we are looking at? Because I know that the fines are only used for cost recovery, right? So what avenues are we exploring to essentially increase or expand enforcement for these so-called repeat offenders and those who may have multiple properties that are also violating code?
Thank you, council members. So yes, there are repeat offenders. Our system does allow us to track case history, so we can kind of see how many cases we've had over time on a particular property. But we are, you know, looking to that new system to help us even more with that, because it definitely, sometimes it's as we get a case and come upon it, we don't have that flag in our system telling us, hey, this person's had 5 cases kind of thing. So it definitely is something that will, the new system will help us with tracking, but we have started implementing some additional strategies. The downtown enhanced vacant building, we're taking some key problem properties outside of the downtown that aren't not necessarily vacant, but have been those chronic offenders, and we're applying that same approach. And it comes down to us improving on our ability to escalate through that enforcement path. And then in instances where, it's determined that this owner just isn't capable for whatever reason of maintaining their property, we've been utilizing the receiverships, which is fairly new to us. Just in the last few years, we've been utilizing the receivership process. So we are trying to again, we're going to be working now, and we'll continue to work on escalating enforcement more quickly so we can get to that point where we're leveraging those fines.
Is there any avenues to try things that you're not doing? Because right now we see the problems, and I understand that like in downtown you're trying something.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any data of the success of that program? Can we expand that to other areas? Like what are some things that we can do, as the mayor said, as policy changes or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there are a number of different things that we're exploring through that. I think we've seen success on those priority buildings in downtown. Most recently, the receivership on the North 4th Street Victorian buildings that burnt. We were actually already in process on that the second time that went. There's been a lot of work on the Bowtown site in downtown, right? That the property owner there is now sort of moving forward with work on that property. So we're starting to see action by those owners. I think but there's also areas that we've not yet explored, and there's more work that we can do in that area. There's sort of broader approaches to sort of when a building becomes vacant citywide, and sort of what can we look at to incentivize property owners to work harder to keep those buildings occupied or to reoccupy them. I think the other thing is there's a couple of sort of subsets within that. One of those is, a lot of or sort of one of the reasons that buildings become vacant is when there's new development planned on those sites. Certainly with speculative development, we see property owners that, it's easier for them to push that development if there's no longer a tenant in the space. So really thinking creatively around our development process as well to ensure that those owners are held accountable, to ensure that that site is maintained during that sort of interim period, right? And really incentivize them to keep tenants in the building, because ultimately that's the thing that tends to avoid the issues.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Thank you for the overview. As mentioned, it'd be good to just understand, what avenues through policy. I don't know if we've explored our avenues through our legal department, or what challenges we have through the legal department to enforce this as well. Of course, we respect property rights, but I just when these individuals aren't keeping up their property, they cause so much issues in the neighborhood that then our city has to solve, whether it's the attraction of the unhoused, whether we see different crimes popping up, and really there's no way for us to measure those costs to the city of San Jose. And so I think, if we gotta give some tough love, and I think when it comes to NSE, this discussion, I'm definitely going to be looking to try different things in collaboration with the administration. Do just want to mention just 2 instances. I know you're aware of this, Rachel, but as I mentioned, in my district, there is many issues of code enforcement. We have that large structure off the freeway of unhoused individuals. They built like a tower off of 680, which causes issues with safety and blight, and I know they're breaking into some of the houses around that area. I just wanted to give you that feedback that working with staff was very difficult. I didn't receive any updates until actually today on whether that was going to be abated, and given that it was private property, I understand that we can't just go on there and abate them. But I asked for an update all the way in October, and I barely received one today. And so I hope that our staff is doing everything they can to be proactive, because when my staff have to start being like caseworkers and bugging staff and stuff like that, it distracts us from doing the day-to-day stuff. And then also, I told you with that issue in the Toyon neighborhood, and as I was discussing, with the staff after it went on for several months, and I said what other options were available. I was kind of told, well, we could give you the address and you could go there personally. And it's like, okay, I didn't know I worked for code enforcement. I didn't know I had a code enforcement jacket. So I just want to make sure that we're exploring all options and just not taking no for an answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate your comments and great questions, and glad to see we have so much common ground in this area, and I'm sure many others. All right, let's go to Vice Mayor Kamei.
Thank you. So ditto the mayor, ditto Councilmember Ortiz. A lot of what they said, I also feel. I do want to express my appreciation. I know that every time we have our one-on-ones, there's an update on code enforcement in terms of some of the areas that we have been dealing with, especially in the Cadillac-Winchester area. So I want to thank, however you're doing it, whatever you're doing there, thank you, thank you, thank you. That has been pretty good. It's a persistent problem, and so I do understand the challenges. However, there are other situations that I think need a little bit of rethinking. Rethinking is what I want. And I wanted to first of all ask, why is the maximum penalty $100,000? Is that a legal thing? Is that a code thing?
Councilmember, I can answer that. That is the amount in the municipal code. Council could change that.
Okay.
Well, and in fact, just to interject, we, a few of us wrote a memo giving direction to staff to go assess increasing it, and I believe we even indicated perhaps up to 500,000. So there is some work being done on that, but I assume, is that coming back in April as well?
We plan to bring it back before the end of the fiscal year, but.
Yeah, okay, as long as it comes back in time for us to
Okay.
make some adjustments.
As part of the fees and charges for next fiscal year, yes, but it's part of the overall assessment.
Yeah, okay, great. Sorry, Vice Mayor.
Okay. I would like to suggest exploring an escalator for those who are repeat offenders, because every time we have a team go out, every time something happens and they slide back. I know, Chris, you mentioned something about there are those who, do what they have to do, but then they slide back, and then they don't do it, and then you got to go back. I think repeat offenders, more and more, make it hurt, because it's really just taking our resources away from what we are supposed to do. So an escalator is what I would recommend. I would also like to know, in terms of your slide under full process and core process escalation, as has been mentioned, there's a lot of steps. What are the optional and what are the required? Because I think that, when I look at 6 to 12 months, I mean, you're talking about maximum like a 2-year process. I have an example of something that, and I got an email today regarding starting the whole process all over again. So I have residents who have been dealing with this issue in a residential area for 6 years. So prior to when I came on board, this was the first thing that these residents were complaining to me about. They brought pictures, they sent information, and thankfully the code enforcement person did go out, but every time, they couldn't see the violation, they couldn't, it was sort of like a moving target. So, so it's been going on for 2 years. Finally, we have proof because the guy is advertising, right? So now it's like, oh my gosh, finally, after 6 years, we're gonna shut this thing down. Well, today I get an email saying, oh, it just got reported today, so we have to wait the 14 days, the other days. So I feel like it's like, get back in the end of the line and you start all over again. So I know that I'm gonna get a bunch of emails from residents who are not gonna be happy with starting at the end of the line all over again. Now, I understand because that's our process. But as we think about what we may want to do a little bit differently, think about if you've had a complaint regarding a situation for 6 years, that should be a little bit different than someone who all of a sudden, hey, what's going on over there? It's getting a little bit blighty over there. I think we need to have that as a flag or something, or You know, because if you've had the same issue ongoing, that should say something. So I hope that you can take a look at that, and I'd like to see under your process what is required and what is optional, right? Because I think that we tried to be nice, we tried to be understanding, and that's great under certain circumstances. But if you have someone who repeatedly is coming back, I think that's a different type of a situation. The other thing that I want to say is that I'm delighted to see that customer experience is going to be a part of this, because I think that many of our residents are not happy because they have not had a good experience. And so some of them have, but some of them have not. So I think that is going to be key. The last thing I would say is please contact the council office whenever something like this is going to be sent out, because I'm going to hear it. Everyone's going to hear it, right? If staff sends something to a constituent regarding a complaint, we're going to hear it, right? And you know, it's nice to be copied on it. I'm grateful for that. But give us a heads up, because especially on these issues that have been lingering for a long time, that can be very painful, because I know at the next meeting I'm going to hear it. So I think that the coordination that Councilmember Ortiz talked about is extremely helpful. Let us help you as well, you know, because I think that at the end of the day, you know, sort of we have this mantra of one group, one team. I think that's going to be really important. So thank you. And I know your work is challenging. I know it. But let us help you. Thank you.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Let's go to Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and the looking forward at what's working and what's not working. I, along with a prior council member, requested this study session, so I'm really happy to see this study session come forward, and I'm glad we waited until we had the new council members here so they could understand the process, because if they haven't started hearing from constituents yet, they will. This is, and clearly it's a recurring theme from the council members and the mayor about the frustration that our residents feel. And one of mine, you've even quoted in their criticism regarding work on a Dry Creek property that isn't getting done. And I really appreciate the comment from your staff member, Manny Duarte, who worked with this woman to bring in the family to clean up the house. But what happens, such as the dry, and Rachel, I know you know this property well, such as the Dry Creek property doesn't let code enforcement in. Yet we know there's a problem inside. They won't let them in the backyard. We know there's a problem in the backyard. This has been going on, to Vice Mayor's point, since pre-COVID. We sat out with the neighbors in the backyard, very concerned about health and welfare situations for the elderly occupant. We even sent police over there, social workers over there, to get access to the occupant. He says everything's okay, still not sure it is. But what do you do when you can't get in? How far do you push it?
Well, we call upon our city attorney's office partners, and we get an inspection warrant to access the property. Other times we sometimes have the ability to get creative and view a property from a neighboring property, but we always have to make sure we're reviewing or accessing the property legally. So if that's not available, then we work with the city attorney's office to draft up the paperwork for a warrant and go before a judge to have that granted so that we can then get into the property.
How long does it take to have the city attorney's office? I mean, one thing I was hoping to get from this is I feel we're soft on the violators. We're not pushing them as hard as we can. We filed a memo to have higher fines, but I want to talk about how they're collected or when they're collected. Just finding them and not getting collected they don't feel the pain necessarily. So I was hoping to see the timeline of how quickly it can go to the legal team, and then what happens with the legal team. How quickly can that be resolved?
Councilmember, usually it takes about two weeks for us to file from filing the paperwork for a warrant and get the warrant filed, and once we achieve that, we'll hand that back to the department to execute the warrant.
And what do you need from code enforcement to go to that step?
Usually, we would ask it's just a matter of making sure we have the evidence to support the suspected violation and and rejection by the refusal of entry by the property owner.
Okay, so I think what's frustrating is these, well, I'll just call them problem properties, and we all have them, is code enforcement goes out, they say, oh, you've got some trash in your front, I'm just exaggerating for the point of an argument. You've got some trash in your front yard, you need to clean it up. They clean a little bit of it up. You go back in a month, you decide, okay, they're complying, so we're not going to go to the next step. Neighbors report it again, now they've got a broken down car stuck on their lawn. You go back out there, you file another complaint, they remove the car. This happens over and over and over again. Eventually the neighbors say, you know, a tree broke down, or a tree fell on their house, and now they don't have any power in this house. There are tents in the backyard. People are living in the tents. Code enforcement goes out. They can't really get in the backyard. They talk to the owner. The owner says everything's okay. More time, more time, more time. Each step keeps getting added, and no penalty, no fine, no threat necessarily to the property owner, who may find a letter from the legal department very threatening, because it means what? That you're going to lien his house? That you're going to, what does the letter or the legal action say or imply?
I can take that, and Vance will fill in. To some extent, it depends on what it is, but we can do cease and desist letters if there is, if code has been trying to get compliance, or there are issues that are obvious. We can request entry and indicate we are going in for an inspection warrant. And that process, as Vance indicated, is about 2 weeks from the time it comes over to us from code. And like any other warrant, you need evidence that suggests there is a violation. It doesn't have to be so overwhelming that you have to prove the violation. You're going in to find out if there's a violation. And sometimes we found in the past the threat of penalties, and at times absentee owners not realizing that there are real problems. And you're right, the letter coming from an attorney saying there are problems in your property and penalties are going to begin to accrue gets their attention, and they want to talk.
I think that's, as we move forward in analyzing our process, shortening time frames, increasing penalties, that sort of thing, I think, and maybe this requires a Muni Code change, is increasing how quick we can get to the lawyer's letter. Because I think the lawyer's letter, most people would find that very concerning. And I understand due process and all that, but a letter simply saying, you need to do these things, or we may seek legal action, must be in our right to do so. Is that correct, Nora?
It is?
Okay.
Yes.
So, you know, there's obviously frustration, and This is across the city that we have blighted properties and issues. One thing I've always wondered, and Rachel, this is a question for you, when a violation is closed, what does that really mean? Does it mean problem solved, graffiti's painted over, the junk is cleared out, or that you looked at it one particular day and you couldn't get a hold of anybody, so you closed the case? I don't know, what does closing it mean?
Yeah, so we do not close a case until the violations have been corrected. And an inspector will actually submit the case for closure to the supervisor, and then they go through the case to make sure that those violations identified have been corrected. So the property needs to be in compliance before we can close the case.
Okay. All right, well, I thank you, and I don't mean to come down hard, because I appreciate the work that you do, but this is the one pain point that every council member hears about the blight in our city and how how one particular property in a neighborhood is bringing everything down. And I will have to say that we had a situation in one of my neighborhoods during the pandemic where everybody's home, and all of a sudden, well, they've had a recurring problem with this neighbor with a lot of junk on the street, on the lawn. And it actually didn't take long for code enforcement to get over there and clear out his property, and the neighbors were thrilled. And by long, less than 3 months. It was once we learned about it. It had been going on with the neighbors for a long time, but once they finally reported it to us and we could see pictures and we drove by and saw what was going on, then the solution happened fairly quickly. So there are success stories, but you know the one in my district that isn't a success story yet, and I want to make it a success story. So thank you. I appreciate all that coming and doing this presentation, and I appreciate, Chris, the self-analysis of where you are and where you're going. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Let's go to Councilmember Cohen next.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Foley, for apologizing on all of our behalfs for seeming like it's a harsh attack on the department. This is a pain point for all of us, and I think it's important for us to ask difficult questions, but it doesn't diminish what I know is my appreciation for what's a difficult task and one with a wide range of different types of problems we deal with on a daily basis. Let me first ask a question about this process of getting notice and then finding things in compliance. Clearly there's a point at which a citation is issued, but it sounds like the process is set up so that there's a sort of a grace period where somebody can resolve their problem without a citation. And kind of following up on Councilmember Foley's question, I'm just wondering, given that many of these people, many folks repeat the problem, or maybe many don't, but some do repeat the problem, and there is, obviously, we're relying on fees and charges to fund ourselves. How do we decide at what point something warrants a charge? I mean, even if somebody resolves a problem, if it took multiple attempts, do we get to a point at which we still want to charge for having to do the code enforcement work with somebody on their property? Doesn't sound like.
I'm just thinking about your question here for a minute.
Maybe it wasn't clear, my question, but I'm just wondering, I guess my question is, my first question when I was listening to the presentation early on was just if they are compliant, are they therefore not given some kind of citation and asked for a fine? And I think I gathered through the rest of your presentation that the answer was that's the case, that people usually don't get a fine, usually we resolve it without. I'm just trying to figure out how we decide when
the citation
gets issued, and are we maybe going too far on the side of giving them multiple chances to comply before we give citation?
Yeah, I think that kind of gets at that escalation of enforcement piece that we highlighted as an area for improvement, and that when we looked at that slide that had the buckets of what's an investigation versus what's an enforcement, that we definitely think that there's an opportunity, and also to the mayor's point about the number of actions that go into a case, we think there's opportunity to move more quickly and reduce those number of actions so that we can move to enforcement when that's needed. When we do issue a notice, we always give a timeline that we think is reasonable for the property owner to correct the violation. So a typical blight case, they usually get 10 to 14 days. Sometimes, every case is different. And so, sometimes we go out and they have almost all of it fixed, except for they just need a few more days to do the last thing. And we usually afford them those additional days. Other times on the other end, we go out and absolutely nothing's been done. And so every notice that is sent advises them of that pending citation should compliance not be reached. And so in instances where we go out and see there is no compliance, then we move to a citation, generally speaking.
So typically after that first attempt and they given time, and if they're working towards compliance, obviously they're given more time, but if they are not working towards compliance, then a citation is issued. We don't necessarily continue to give people multiple chances.
Sometimes we do.
It's all circumstance driven, I guess, based on each case.
Yes.
Okay. A lot of these cases obviously are about, landlords and how they interact with their, with the tenants. We've had debates, and I know that I've been pushing over the years to continue the RLEI program. If RLEI existed, do you think that would assist? I mean, now RLEI has kind of gone away. If RLEI came back, or if we were able to find a way to continue that program, would that assist you in being able to offload cases, to have fewer cases coming to your department and make it more manageable?
I think RLEI is a resource for the community members. It's a really useful tool for community members that do have like a chronic property in their community that they want to, kind of focus their attention and resources in trying to help resolve. So I think it's definitely a good support system for them, and it definitely, anytime a case can be resolved in our community, whether it's through RLEI or through our own efforts, is always appreciated, right? So,
because in the absence of RLEI, they would be coming, more cases would be coming to you if they people didn't have that avenue. Would that be a true statement?
Not necessarily, but our city manager wants to say something.
I just want you to, can you explain for the public and for the council what RLEI is?
Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, so it's
We're using acronyms, so it gets hard to follow.
Responsible landlord.
The Responsible Landlord Engagement Initiative. And so when there's a problem in the community that's creating, very significant issues to the surrounding properties and neighbors, they can partner with the RLEI initiative group, and it brings in a kind of focused attention, not only with city departments, but also external groups and resources to help develop a strategy on how we can address a problem property in the community.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. I'm going to use a case that's of particular concern to me in our district as an example. And I know we have our weekly meeting on Thursday with your department, and I want to do a deep dive on this case on Thursday. But this case raises a lot of questions about how we might head problems off in advance. So we had warning early on in a neighborhood about somebody cutting down trees without permits and looking like they were beginning to do a construction project. They have not pulled city permits on their construction project. They're using a single-family home now to build a temple on site. They're actually having students there coming in and doing programs. This is unpermitted activity in a residential neighborhood. But because it's either taking so long or because the code enforcement is not observing the right things, I'm not sure exactly. Part of my problem, and back to Vice Mayor Kamei's comment, if we don't know what's happening or we're not able to get regular updates about what's happening, then when I get the weekly, and every meeting I go to, I'm getting complaints from that neighborhood. They're asking me for an update. They say the city's not doing anything, and I don't even know what to say about what the city's doing because I don't know the status. And so for certain key cases, I feel like we should get those regular updates. But what happens is you get a feeling early on that something might be happening, and if we don't stop it, it goes further down the road, and we could have stopped it earlier. So now, this is in the foothills where potentially there's issues with erosion and other things. They're using heavy equipment to grade the property. They're doing things that none of it is, as far as I can tell, has been vetted in any way. If we had gotten on it early on when we first heard about them cutting down trees, we might have been able to stop it before it's gone to the point of construction and other things happening. So I get concerned when we know something is likely to be happening and the case gets worse and worse and worse to the point at which it's almost hard to undo the damage that's been done. So I'm trying to lead to a question. I'm not even sure what question to ask, except, how can we focus on some of these cases that look like they really might escalate into something? How can we try to get the property owners to comply? How can we assure our neighbors that the program is there for them? And then my other question is, and I'm asking a lot of questions now, I'm sorry, but my other question is sort of about the environmental side. I get very frustrated when, our objective as a city is to preserve our trees, and somebody can go ahead and make this large amount of damage on a property, and we don't. So what, are some of those considerations, environmental considerations and others, part of your process?
Yes, and I think, what's interesting about all of the examples you all shared is how diverse our work is, how different all these cases are, right? And sometimes we don't even know what we're taking on until we get out there. And so, the inspectors, they do know if they see something going on, that they can bring that back to their supervisor and say, hey, can I open a case? If we don't have a case yet on that, we usually do. But once we get that case, as I was sharing in the presentation, that we do prioritize them. And so for unpermitted construction and something, as you're describing, that would be considered a priority. And so we get out there as soon as we can. But once we dig into it, often, similar to our intervention work with the vacant buildings, it's going to require the partnership of multiple departments to help us resolve this issue. And so a lot of times our inspectors are acting as project managers, where we're having to call different departments to understand, okay, they've got this going on, this is not permitted. What kind of permits are they going to need? What grading department approvals, from Public Works are they going to need, so that they can cobble that together before we can actually issue an order for them to correct. And so, we are able to issue in partnership with building, like a stop work order if that's appropriate, but sometimes it does take us a little bit of time to get that research, and understand what permits have been issued or not issued, and then speak with the different departments to really put it all together before we can take that next step. So it gets pretty complicated very quickly. And even sometimes other agencies like BACMed and DTSC with the state and the water agency, I can't think of the acronym right now. But anyhow, so it does require partnership of a lot of different agencies often, especially with those type of cases.
Yeah, I understand the complexity, although in some cases it seems there are obvious observations, and that we should have an avenue by which we can somehow put a cease and desist in place so that there's a delay.
Yes.
This case has been open since last summer, and I just got an email during this meeting from a neighbor describing something that they're seeing happening now that's getting worse and worse and worse. So to be getting reports since last summer, to make sure that your office has received the report, and then feel like everything's just proceeding as if the property owner is following all the rules, gets very frustrating for me, and also makes us appear incompetent to that neighborhood, because these are very obvious things that are happening. That's sort of the way I would see it. But thank you, and I guess we'll talk more about this case, but I just want us to think about how we might prioritize certain cases that are clear, and how we can stop things before they can, rather than, because there's a process that takes 6 months to 10 months, damage is now continuing to be done even after we've been alerted that damage is being done. And that really is frustrating for me, and I'm sure for the neighbors. Okay, thank you. I'll come back to me when we go through the rest.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate those comments. Let's turn to Councilmember Condelis.
No, thank you. First of all, thank you for the robust presentation. I know this is definitely, the task that you have is definitely a complicated one, and you're working towards bettering our city. So I won't belabor some of the comments made by some of my colleagues with regards to the repeat offenders or the irresponsible landlords. But I do believe that there is, I'd call it an opportunity for, to be able to intervene more quickly, and or to be able to identify processes or strategies for escalation, whether it's to our attorney's office, SJPD, or the DA's office, for example. Because, the issue we feel is time, and the time it takes to see results. You know, especially in those neighborhoods that are not as vocal as others. I do have the privilege to represent a district that is just like that. We have, you know, an area that was a little portion of the FAST program, and we definitely saw the benefits, especially with regards to, you know, the illegal dumping issue that we saw. And I think we can do a better job, an opportunity to improve with regards to providing the service. But it's not easy, so there's a lot of work ahead. And I'm glad Councilmember Cohen brought up the RLEI, the Responsible Landlord Engagement Initiative, because as part of the presentation, I mean, there's a goal to highlight expanding external partnerships, and that to me is an opportunity for that. And so I guess my question for staff is, you know, is this type of program or this kind of intervention being considered as part of the re-engineering work, whether it's near term or long term?
Specific to RLEI, it's not something that we've included in the scope at this point. I think that there's a sort of broader nod to the idea that you know, we need to be more connected and more in line with partners in the community, you know, whether that's local stakeholders, other organizations, whatever that is. I think, you know, through our work on enhanced vacant buildings, you know, it's helped us really kind of frame that service delivery environment. You know, code enforcement is the intervention, right? With that leverage point, we don't necessarily solve the problem. Most of the time we're relying on a property owner to resolve that issue, you know, but there are others sort of out there in the community that can help be a solution. And I think that's sort of when RLEI is sort of often at its best, is how do you bring some of those other partners to the table to help sort of create resolution. I think part of that really stems from our ability to communicate more effectively, have a better handle on what resources exist in the community that we can help kind of bring to bear. So I think from that lens, it's included, but not specifically on that program.
Right. I know. I figured as much, but you know, I think it's important for us to use every tool in our toolbox, and RLEI was that. Obviously, resources. This is a question of resources, but I think you know, we should be cognizant of that as we're having this conversation of programs like that, because I know I saw the efficacy of this program firsthand. And it's important. And so I guess the next issue I wanted to ask about was with regards to code enforcement identifying prioritized services and the most important issues in the community. And you know, how does code enforcement decide what's most important?
Yeah, and I would start just by saying I think, you know, today we've been much more sort of even keel in our approach. Philosophically, as a department, our approach has often been, you know, our goal is compliance, right? And how do we work with a property owner, a landlord, whatever the entity is, to say, hey, this is how you get to compliance. And that's why the sort of distribution between the sort of investigation and notification, right, there's a lot of work that's occurring before we even get to citation and legal action. Yeah. And that's because, you know, we've approached it to say, hey, we're out here just trying to help you get to where you need to be. I think, you know, I just want to recognize that I think there is sort of a shift in the tone that we're hearing from the community, and I think as a department we're hearing from the City Council, and this is that opportunity to sort of consider that. I do think, and I think part of this conversation that's been really helpful is kind of identifying, you know, what that framework for escalation is, right, and that we can't treat all cases equally. We need to focus our resources and think about, you know, in certain instances, how we accelerate quickly, because we've seen the results when we do that.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I asked that is because I think the prioritization, you know, should be balanced with that of the people that are sitting on this dais, to feedback, to see what we feel, and to see what, you know, to ask us which are priorities and what we feel should be addressed, and you know, to get the feedback rather than keeping us isolated, or, you know, in some cases that you know, there's a disconnect. And so, you know, I would just challenge staff to, you know, see how we can be more engaged on that notion. Not that you're not, but, you know, as we're thinking about this re-engineering work and this, revamp, I'd like to pose that to staff. And City Manager McGuire, I think you have a comment.
So Chris, my understanding is that as part of Guidehouse's work, they will be interviewing the mayor and city council for your feedback and input on this entire re-engineering effort.
Thank you. No, and that's important. And so I appreciate that. And that's it. Those are my comments for now. But it's important that we're all take this feedback or this criticism, if you will, as positive, constructive criticism, because we don't know where to go if we don't know where we are. And so, I look forward to seeing the work ahead and continue to bear down on this. Thanks.
Those were some pithy words of wisdom there at the end. That was good. I'm going to remember that one. That was good. Yeah. All right. Let's turn to Councilmember Mulcahy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Chris and Rachel, for the report. And it's, being on the campaign trail, it's great to know that there's a lot of common ground in terms of this thinking around this, work ahead. And appreciate that it's already started as I take this seat. So thank you for that. Just a few little pieces. Chris, you were just talking about sort of the entitlement process and, sort of the impact on potential blight, right? You sort of think about West San Carlos as an example where we've had a number of sites entitled old car lots, kind of old school retail. And you just talked about how encouraging to keep those sites occupied, while that path of development happens. How about the other side of that, which is sometimes those properties are just not suitable for maintaining. And, even in a good economic cycle, we could be still sitting around for a couple of years, right? So what about that idea? We really tie demolition to new development, right? So thinking about case by case where a demo permit released early might in fact be better for the long-term limitation of blight on that site. So I'd just like you to consider that. In our process, we were talking about what are other things we might think about to help limit, blight in certain cases. You want to comment on that?
Do you want me to comment on that? No, I mean, I think it's a fair point, and there are certainly instances when we do sort of move forward with that. There's been a couple of recent instances, certainly where we have challenges around maintenance of the building. I think the sort of the counter to it that we're often trying to balance is sort of what's that interim condition. And I think being really thoughtful about, we have a number of blighted vacant sites that have had the building demolished, right, and they're still not being maintained appropriately. So just thinking about, what activation looks like, because ultimately sort of activation of the space is the thing that protects most against it. So even if it is temporary uses, whether it's using the building or not, if there's a plan for that, it's enacted and it's maintained. I think that's something we're supportive of. We just have to think around all the policy implications and how we do it. Because I think the challenge is, right, and part of the legacy of redevelopment is some of the vacant lots around downtown, right, where the philosophy was we can, seed for future development by clearing the way. And if we do too much of that, there's the potential of a really negative impact long term. So I don't disagree. I just think there's more that we have to sort of think through and explore in that.
Okay. The second one is, Rachel, I think it was page 19, around response types and timelines that you were talking about. I'm a 311 app user pretty much every day, and it drives me nuts when I get the response that they close my case, and yet I go back out and see that whatever it is that I reported wasn't taken care of, right? So I'm curious in this regard, it's not the same thing, but it's sort of, what do you consider a response to qualify in your timeline goals? Is it you've visited the property, you've articulated the issue to the property owner? What qualifies that?
What qualifies as a response is a visit to the property and an attempt to make the inspection. Most of the time we are successful, but there are instances where we are not. The inspector, if it's something they can see from the public right-of-way, they may post a warning notice at the property, or if not, if something where we have to gain access, we leave a business card. So we're starting that investigation, starting that communication with the owner, taking some sort of action.
Okay. So then I'll switch gears because that's enough for me. Thank you. Probably one of the biggest concerns that I hear from our small business owners are pop-up restaurants near other restaurants and other small businesses. Sometimes a couple of days, sometimes for a few hours, sometimes for weeks at a time. So we have external partners, I assume, that are required for our work, and I would assume county health has a role with our code enforcement. Can you talk a little bit about that so kind of I understand that? And who ultimately is sort of the responsible party relative to that specific issue?
Thank you, council member. So if it's a like a food truck type of situation that's on a private property, they're required to have a permit. The owner of the property is required to have a permit for that vendor. So that in that instance, we would need to do the investigation and follow with the property owner, hold them accountable, make sure they're complying. If it's something more transient, where it's popping up on a public right of way, like a sidewalk or even in the street, that is actually they're required to have a permit from the police department, and then also in either example, permits from the county health department. So in instances where we might find that that's the case, we'll refer it over to PD and make sure that they're following up and taking action accordingly. But if it's something that's on private property, it would be our responsibility to address and work with the county and so forth on those things.
Are there any other instances where we have external partners like that we rely on to do our work?
Gosh, I feel like every day we're talking to somebody, but we do a lot of work, with Public Works, DOT, internal departments. We also partnering with the county regarding tobacco retail. We partner with BACMed, as I was explaining earlier, like a lot of times with construction sites where they might be having air quality issues as a result. I feel like there's things I'm forgetting. The county, the DA with the county on certain chronically problematic properties. Vance, you had another? Oh, and the weed abatement. The county of Santa Clara actually administers our weed abatement program, so vacant parcels with overgrown vegetations of a certain size, they're being proactively monitored, inspected, and abated through our partnership with the weed abatement program over in the county. So those are just a few examples.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your work and look forward to the April report.
Thanks, council member. Appreciate that. Councilmember Dewan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for the clear study session. Even though as we move forward with lots of these blights and violation, have we incentivized our citizen, or at least the violator, so if they comply, we could waive the fee at a certain time? Do we give them a very clear, in bold, right, timeline, right? So the first violation will be this. The second violation will be sent on this date. This will be the city attorney, and then here's an action to how much it's going to cost you. But if you comply, we could waive those fees within a particular timeline.
Yes, I think that is captured, not exactly in that way, but all that information is there. We're required, the Media Code outlines certain things we have to require in our more formal notices, like our citations and compliance orders, but our warning notices, those also have timelines for compliance and potential fines that could be incurred. However, waiving fine, so in essence, if they comply, that is us waiving that fine, right? They've reached compliance and therefore are not going to be receiving a citation.
Okay. And do we collaborate with nonprofit organization and volunteers in order, a lot of these hoarders, to help them. I know it's extremely difficult because I worked with a case that took me a year and a half, got to a certain point, and they decide not to do it. Do we have that accessibility for our citizen in order to outreach to these nonprofit organizations?
Yeah, I think that's one of those areas that we really want to continue to improve and find those sort of resources in the community that can help, because often we find ourselves in those situations where we're out in the field working with individuals who don't have access to either the resources or the people that can help them resolve the issue. And so, they're limited. Some of them are sort of place-based. I think sort of engaging with neighborhoods where people are willing to sort of resolve the issue and sort of, people can help, I think is absolutely the kind of thing we would love to see more of. Obviously, there's just the ability to kind of get out there and have those conversations is sometimes challenging. But we are definitely looking for those opportunities. I think in an ideal world, we would love to have a really clear resource guide to say, if you have this issue, you can call these people, they can help you. In certain instances, we do have that, but certainly not enough.
And the other question I have for you is we as a city as a whole, downtown and many areas within District 7, we have a lot of unpermitted vendors that have plagued the city, that have literally caused businesses to close. Simple flowers on the corner of McLaughlin and Capitol Expressway, or even off of Tully or even Story Road, where you have a mom and pop who have a flower shop. They pay all their fees, and they work extremely hard, and they're trying to, lower the pricing, but you can't compete with someone who doesn't have any permit or any other expenditure, and they're selling it out there, and it's create problems for a lot of our businesses that pay our taxes. How do we apply the existing laws? How do we enforce that so that way we can help having our mom and pop small businesses to survive right here in the city of San Jose?
Councilmember Rosalind Huey, Deputy City Manager. I'm happy to jump in to answer this question because we've worked with your office, your staff, on the big issue of unpermitted vendors that we have primarily in downtown, but obviously we see them in our neighborhoods as well. We have been successful last year in conducting very targeted enforcement activities in these areas where we see the repeated activity. And as you know, it takes a village. We have partnered with police department, with public works, transportation, county health department, obviously in downtown, Office of Economic Development, Cultural Affairs, the downtown manager. So we are able, to the extent that we can, we're targeting areas where we're seeing the unpermitted activity most concentrated, and targeting these limited enforcement efforts. To continue these throughout the city, it's going to take more resources, but we're committed definitely to target those areas where we see the most issues.
Thank you. I know it's extremely difficult, even though when we have successfully addressed some of that problem, but then a month or even two later, we're having the same exact problem.
Yep. I should ask, we see the best results, unfortunately, when the county health department actually takes food. Yes. And we are working on updating the city's peddlers ordinance so that the police department would have the authority also to take the carts as well.
Yes, and not only the problem now is at each corner. Now I know that there's a lot of unpermitted vendors that literally crosses into private property and causing a lot of businesses to suffer. And I hope that we'll continue to work at it. And I know it's difficult to do more with less, and you have more cases, but it doesn't mean that we cannot improve upon our process. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate those comments. Let's go back around to Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, thank you. Sort of changing subjects, you mentioned fireworks. We've, as this council over the last few years, have upgraded our ordinances a lot to provide tools to try to go after illegal fireworks around our neighborhoods, happening all over the city, obviously. As we're heading into each new year, I'm always curious as to how well what we've implemented is is it working, and what has been the outcome, the results, and I'm hopeful that this maybe in the next few months or sooner we can get an info memo of some kind that says here's the number of reports we got, here are the number of the citations that were issued, et cetera, so we can decide whether what we've done is having at least some impact, and we have some way to communicate to our residents that yes, when you call or you make a 311 report on fireworks, there is something that occurs as long as you've given us this information. You know, people call and they say, well, what's the point? Nobody comes out. Well, and we had to make clear to people, this isn't about an immediate response. This is about something that happens later. But I don't know that we have the information in our offices to be able to tell people what's happening later.
Yes, council member. So fire department, which is the lead, but who's working in partnership with code enforcement as well as the police department, we actually are on schedule to bring back a report in February to PSFIS, and then that will outline the work we did last 4th of July, as well as TET and Lunar New Year and the New Year, and then the plans going forward for this coming 4th of July. And so it will have that data as well as what we're continuing to learn as we've implemented some of these new things, and where we hope to go with that. And so, but it is definitely making a difference in terms of just the data collection and the hotspots, and the ability for us to deploy resources in a better way to, hopefully move the needle. So you'll see more of that at PSFIS in February.
That would be great to see, and obviously it'll get disseminated to the rest of us who are not on PSFIS. In addition to the data from this past year, it would be nice to see a trend. I think this will be our 3rd year coming up where we've had these new ordinances in place. So how did it work? How are the numbers changing from year to year? How are the number of reports trending, and how are the number of citations trending? In an ideal world, what I'd like to see is the number of reports going down, but the number of citations going up. Until we, of course, maybe someday way in the future, have solved the problem so much that we don't need to cite people anymore. But I don't know that I'll still be here when that happens. But I appreciate the work in that area. So thank you. Just one other question. I think you've tried to answer this through your presentation, but obviously it's alarming to see that number of cases growing, and that graph is the number of open cases, which means the ones that are unresolved, that many of which are carried over and many of which are new. I see the data saying we're finally maybe at the point where we're balancing the number of cases resolved and the number of cases coming in, so that number might not be growing much anymore. But obviously what we want to see is that number going down. Is there a straightforward answer to the question of what would it take? What would we have to do as a council, and what would the city have to do to attack this and bring that number down in the short term so that we don't have that large carryover going forward?
I think that's an opportunity for us to sort of give you a metric around that specific. I mean, ultimately, based on kind of what we've seen over time, it's a resource question, right? Our ability to deliver service to that many people requires X amount of people. So I think we can try to get to a better number through this process. Again, I think the other thing is the investment in technology will help considerably about understanding some of these parts. I think that there is work we can do around streamlining and efficiency, but ultimately at the end of the day, sort of, the volume just coming in the door is too much for the level of inspectors that we have.
Right, and the resource question. Oh, sorry.
I actually want to add to that. I think just in other areas we've had backlogs, like in our police data work and others, once we improve the process the best we can with, and make it as efficient and as effective, there may be an opportunity with some one-time resources to hire ahead for future code enforcement inspector vacancies that can specifically work on the backlog and then attrit them into vacancies as we go along. So we are not committing ongoing dollars, but we think about it from a one-time perspective. So I think that's something that's been on my mind, which I haven't really totally discussed with Chris, but there is going to have to be some sort of a little attack on that backlog, even if we're doing our processes differently. But there's opportunities to think about that.
And obviously, as a fee-based cost recovery model, there should be some opportunity as we look at the fees and charges this year to right-size the fees in a way that will help us at that resource problem. Is that a fair thinking?
So I just want to be clear on the general code portion. So the 13 inspectors that are in general code funded by the general fund aren't really in a cost recovery model, right? The general fund just pays for those positions, and then sort of all fines and penalties go into the general fund on the back end. It's not equated.
But there are opportunities to increase what comes in as we adjust our fees that may help us, at least in the short term, do some work to bring this backlog down.
Yeah, I think we sort of need to get after kind of what those numbers look like so we can give you a better insight on what that.
Yeah, and back to what I said in my first round of questions, people have violated, they might resolve it, but there are some cases in my mind that there still should be a fine levied. We may not do that as much as we should, but we should be thinking about that. And I'm thinking particularly if we go to somewhere and maybe there's a question as well, we find out that someone who started the work without a permit, it's one thing you cut down a tree without a permit, okay, fine, we'll resolve that problem. But if you're really starting some construction project on your property and you didn't get the permit needed, you can resolve that by going and paying for the permit. But I believe there should be some additional fine levied that makes the permit a little more expensive for the person who didn't get the permit in advance, for example. Is that done?
Well, we do have a $1,000 citation for unpermitted construction just out the gate.
Okay.
And then there are some additional fees on the building permit when that comes into.
Okay, thank you.
But those fees are sort of levied because there's an additional complexity when you're working with unpermitted construction, right? So our building program is cost recovery and it is sort of direct service. So in that instance, the additional fees.
I'm just wondering if it's almost like a late fee in some sense, right? You're taking your permit out too late, so you pay an extra late fee charge or something on that will provide some more revenue, but also makes people understand there is a cost to not doing this properly. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Council Member. Just pausing for a moment to see if anyone else is inspired with any last-minute questions or comments. I think this was a productive study session. Once again, I want to thank staff for the very comprehensive presentation. You've given us a lot of food for thought as we head into the budget study sessions and think about goal setting for the coming fiscal year. Obviously, as was noted, we don't want to wait until then for improvements. I know staff agrees with us on that. It looks like I did inspire someone to chime in with more. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. It just occurred to me, Councilmember Cohen's question regarding, paying an additional something. From time to time, I have heard, and this is hearsay, that, it's cheaper to get your permit afterwards because we front load the process, we're already moving, and your staff takes too long, so anyway, we'll pay the penalty because it's cheaper in the short run, right? So, I wonder, as we're looking at, this sort of re-engineering of what we're doing, of making it more expensive so that it's a disincentive to do that. I'm not saying that there's a boatload of people out there doing that or anything like that, but I do know of certain circumstances where they've actually demolished and then said, oops, sorry, I didn't know I needed a permit for it. And I think that if we can make it less for compliance and more for not complying, then I think that might be something to think about. I'm not saying it's a right thing or anything like that, but as you're evaluating, check it out to see if that's something that might be, put on there.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. I think it's a good point about incentives. One thing I hope is not lost in this is that not all code cases are created equal. And I think, as you've heard examples here, ones that are particularly visible, pulling down the whole neighborhood and harming the neighbors, and really harming people's economic viability and their quality of life, environmental destruction. I think we're going to also have to talk about prioritization, and that's theoretically what the special programs are supposed to get us, but I do think as we get into the budget study sessions, we may come back to that topic. So a lot of great content today. As I mentioned at the beginning, for our study sessions, we first hear from staff and outside experts to get a lot of good content and analysis out. The council weighs in with questions to learn more, and then we close by turning to the public to further give feedback and ask questions, and then we'll wrap things up. We have a ending time here at 4:30 at the latest. So Tony, I don't know how many comment cards you've collected. If anyone wanted to comment and didn't see the comment cards, they're down here at the bottom of the seating, the auditorium seating here, the yellow or pink cards. Tony?
I have 11 cards.
Okay.
I'm going to call about 5 names at a time. First person who gets to the microphone gets to go first, so it's in no particular order. I have Alex, I can't read the last name, starts with S, so Alex S. William Baker, John Q, Mark Adams, and Roger to start.
Hello, everybody. Distinguished council members. I'm here today to discuss code enforcement and to express grave concerns regarding the ongoing and escalating violations at 3441 Grossmont Drive. I'd like to thank Councilmember Cohen for mentioning this earlier in the Q&A session. Yes, the citizens are paying attention. While the preceding presentation by code enforcement showcased positive examples of city planning and code enforcement, the situation at Grossmont Drive demonstrates complete disregard for our community's well-being. Zoning and development violations. Constant and blatant disregard for existing zoning regulations is evident. Recent activities including extensive tree removal, ground leveling, and construction of tiny homes suggest a significant expansion beyond the scope of a private residence. The development is occurring in a landslide-prone area. This raises serious safety concerns, especially given the large-scale movement of the soil. Traffic and community impact. The property has become a de facto business, attracting 50-plus visitors every weekend. This influx of traffic overwhelms the neighborhood, with vehicles disregarding parking regulations, crossing double yellow lines, and creating significant safety hazards for residents. For the people interested in nature, brown bats, a protected species that used to live on the property in a horse barn, now appear to be completely gone. I discussed this with the new property owner when she first moved in, because prior property owner, he used to help them live. I know because they also came to my property. They've been chased away. This situation cannot be allowed to continue. I urge the City Council to immediately investigate these violations, issue stop work orders to halt all unauthorized.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Bill Baker, and I'm in the Hensley district on North 2nd Street near the intersection of Hensley and North 2nd on the east side. And I sent Rachel Roberts an email kind of explaining the situation, and you directed me to Jennifer Sequin, who'd called me, and we're having a good conversation about how to go forward and get this taken care of. So it's a code, and the code specific to that situation sounded like it's kind of outside of the realm of where we're talking about here, because you're talking about property and the property structures on the property, and I'm talking about the street, sidewalk, curb and gutter flow line. But it's all code, it's all code compliance, and code compliance means that the property owner maintains curb and gutter, sidewalk, and all that. As for my property, we've done all that. We've done, I think, a good job. And I'm bringing to the attention that the downstream property from us did not, for many years, maintain the curb, maintain the tree, and we're suffering for it. And I kind of pointed it out in that email to City Clerk and Rachel. So it's all, the information's out there, that's good. And going forward, I just want to, work with the city and the neighbor next door to get this done. The neighbor next door is new and just bought the place within the last couple months. And I feel like he didn't get proper disclosure from the seller and the real estate agent.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Oh, did I run out of time? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll be in touch. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good afternoon. And my name is John Lee, and I appreciate and thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. I worked for Los Angeles City and County government for 20 years. So I had a little bit of a deja vu in listening to your presentation. And I would say this, that I would commend this panel as well as the department, city leaders for coming together and bringing this issue to the forefront. And I sincerely mean that, because code enforcement is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. And Mayor Mahan, you hit it on the button, that the end game is how do we make our neighborhoods more livable? And I did not want to leave this panel without flagging slide 32, which speaks to a very good remedy, which is the remedy of receiverships. Because when we talk about how do we get to the repeat offenders, and when we talk about, the property owners that can game the system, that is the remedy that not only addresses the symptom, but the root cause of neighborhoods and how we make them more livable. And so I want to hand off to a client I represent that works in that space. He's a little modest, but I would say he's a preeminent authority on receiverships. His name is Mark Adams. I'm going to hand off to him. And he's going to go into a little bit of detail, but please note that your email boxes already have his background information. Thank you again for letting me have this moment.
While he makes his way to the mic, I'm going to call up MW, Eric, and Erica. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. As John said, I'm Mark Adams. I'm the president of California Receivership Group. And this is all we do, is these health and safety receiverships. I want to applaud certainly the council and the staff for this study session. I think you're a model for probably every other major city in Los Angeles on what you should be doing to get more effective code enforcement, because it's a problem throughout California, certainly. As John mentioned, on the deck that we sent out would have all the details of what a receivership, how it works, and I won't bother you with that. I will highlight, though, that San Jose is fortunate because it already has, as was noted earlier, has receivership experience. And in the deck, we illustrate a property in District Number 1 that was just a junkyard, just exactly what you're all describing here. And as you'll see, the receivership, we came in, cleaned it out, sold the property. Our guy sold it for $3.8 million, and the owner collected $590,000 in that. So it was a win-win situation, as we always like to do. But San Jose does have experience, unlike many of the places in California. Two headlines I did want to highlight. One is that, at least the way that we do them, our philosophy is a property carries its own cost of repair. In other words, you'll never see a health and safety receiver, at least from our organization, asking the city for any money for anything, whether it's hard costs. And as the city attorney knows, your enforcement costs can be collected in the receivership action. So it's cost-free to the city, which is an important part of the remedy when you talk about budgets. And then secondly,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric Sullivan. I'm in David Cohen's district, and thank you guys for coming out and planting trees with me and 140 other volunteers. I'm here again to talk about 3441 Grossmont Drive. And my question is maybe a little bit more global. Let me just set the scene for you just for a moment. I've lived on the street for 30 years, and about a year ago, I was walking down the street and I saw an 18-wheeler tractor trailer backing up into the driveway, trying to deliver, the goods to this house, as well as pallets sitting out on the street, taller than me. So this is not a single-family place. This is a huge organization, and I think it's public record that it's a Buddhist temple. But so my big question here is an organization like this? I'm sure they violate various things this way or that way. Is an organization like this allowed in a residential neighborhood? It's like a corporation. It's a community. It's a huge organization, as Roger was saying, many people coming in and out. So is that allowed in a residential district, in a single family thing? That's my general question.
Thank you. Next speaker. I'm also calling Kat, Bob, Stetler, and Nick. Go ahead.
And I'll just interject, for anyone with specific addresses, specific sites, we will do our best through council offices and staff follow-up to get people answers to your specific questions. Public comment, we don't do back and forth, but I do want to just acknowledge that we'll do our best to make sure there's follow-up. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Elva Wilson, San Jose resident over 66 years, resident of the Berryessa community over 35 years. Worked as a senior management analyst for the county for over 35 years, so I fully understand the pressures of working short-staffed and for government responding to the public. Here to express concerns about the temple on Grossmont and to have general comments about the trajectory of code enforcement's outcomes. Having said that, 99% of code enforcement officers that I've dealt with have been very professional. I want to thank Councilman Cohen for bringing up the temple on Grossmont, for his concerns on the what I perceive non-responsiveness by code enforcement, and for prioritizing it. I want to add that when they first moved in, the nun that operates the temple said it would be a few small prayer services a week. It's a full-blown temple. Yesterday there were 50 cars at least, so quality of life impact, parking issues, traffic is pretty severe. Please understand. Unlike other temples coming into neighborhoods, this group kind of snuck in under false pretenses, so no, unlike other temples, like the one that went in Evergreen recently, they ended up with, I think I read 40 conditions. This place has none. On general code enforcement, as a 35-year resident of Berryessa, the code enforcement outcomes of today are vastly different than that of 10 years ago. It takes way too long to get cases assigned, maybe a month. In the meantime, copycat offenders pop up weekly. On Golf Drive alone in San Jose, there used to be 2 to 3 severe cases, maybe 10 years ago. Now there's 10 to 12, always.
Thank you. Next speaker. I'm also calling, I got a card from David.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Erica Murphy. The FDA's 2024 National Tobacco Survey for Youth reports that 1.58 million high school students and 640,000 middle school students use tobacco products. E-cigarettes, vape, are most commonly used, followed by nicotine pouches. And of these, 87.6% are flavored. Despite San Jose's prohibition of the sale of flavored tobacco products back in 2022, these products are widespread in our schools, parks, neighborhoods, and homes. Their sweet candy-like flavors make them especially appealing to youth and difficult to detect in classrooms and homes. These products can quickly hook kids and lead to nicotine addiction, disrupting adolescent brain development and impacting their future and ours. San Jose must do more to prevent flavored tobacco sales to minors. I urge you to consider tobacco enforcement in detail as part of your code enforcement operations study session follow-up. Specifically, I ask whether tobacco enforcement should be housed within code enforcement or law enforcement. Regardless, are officers receiving regular training on current laws? Do they have the staffing, resources, and support from other agencies, whether it be local, state, or federal, to conduct inspections, handle complaints, and take proactive action against illegal sales to minors? The issue is of great personal importance and affects families throughout San Jose. As a mother, I believe our children are our future, and I'm committed to collaborating with the city, the schools, the county health system, and other partners to reduce the risk of adolescent nicotine addiction. I appreciate the time and consideration of staff, George Casey, and the mayor's team in addressing this critical matter. Thank you for your ongoing support. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Thank you. My name is Bob Stedler, District 3 resident. Thank you for having this study session. I've been pushing behind the scenes for quite some time on this. And if I could just start by, correcting the good gentleman from Los Angeles that we are a city, not a town, and that we, third largest city in the state. So code enforcement, one of the worst calls I get is, I have a code enforcement issue. Can you make it go away? And I said, no, I can help you be compliant. I've had clients with 10 people sleeping in an attic. Somebody let a digital billboard on a property, which I told him not to do. But the real thing is, how do I fix my problem? I don't want to be a consultant for them. I just want them to be able to solve their problems. And use guides, YouTube videos, TikTok if it's still a thing. We just need to meet people where they are. And I think that's what we really need to do. And we just need code enforcement staff the tools that they need. And then I would recommend a tiered fine system. Instead of $500,000, I think it should be $1 million. If someone's property is worth $10 million with an entitlement sitting on there, $1 million is probably a better number. And then I would like to just be involved in the process going forward, either whatever happens Tuesday or Tuesday doesn't work for me. I'd like to be part of the process because I think good governance is a thing we could all work together. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Kat Angela, representing the San Jose Chamber of Commerce today. I want to say thank you for holding this study session, along with thank you to the work of PBCE. Overall, our members are really happy with the work that PBC has done. We really do agree that they are doing so much more with less. We are just bringing a few ideas that might be able to help with blighted properties specifically. First is increasing penalties and fees levied for to make these actions happen faster and then generate revenue. That's something we all talked about today, so San Jose Chamber of Commerce is really excited by that idea. And then using that revenue to increase headcount in PBCE. And then also, third, rethinking when demolition permits are issued as to allow heavily blighted buildings to be torn down so they are no longer a public nuisance for those that are repeat offenders. Fourth is getting creative, potentially through AI, cameras, excuse me, or through other means to tackle blight and increase staff capacity. And then fifth, which is outside of the scope of PBCE, but for you all on the council, is to think through the historic resources inventory and allocating resources so that is updated more frequently. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing revisions in the spring.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Rivetto. I'm MEF's current president. I'm also a code enforcement inspector for the city. First and foremost, I want to say a huge thank you to Rachel and Chris. I think they do an amazing job for the amount of staff and resources they have available to them. I also want to thank all of you for really supporting the re-engineering process. I do come to you, though, with an ask for that process. Over the last several months, as a representative for MEF, I've received several, if not dozens, of inquiries from our members who are experiencing more and more instances of aggressive customer behavior towards them. This can be receiving an email where half of the city is blind copied and they're essentially being slandered for non-code enforcement, all the way up to being followed by members of the public for slurs of protected categories within the cities, the most recent example having happened today. So my ask is that when we go through this reimagining process or re-engineering process, we really do also look at that city's customer service charter. I think there has to be some protections for our members. And the second thing that I want to bring up, and this is both from an MEF standpoint, as a representative having received inquiries from our members in code enforcement specifically, is that on a day-to-day basis, some of our most frustrating moments, and I do not mean this offensively in any way, shape, or form, is when we receive inquiries from council. And it's not because they're not warranted, but rather because there's an expectation of urgency, and that generates disruption. It's the mentality that this case is more important than other cases from members or members of the public, customers that don't have the same access that all of you have. So I'm not asking for any change in approach, but what I'm asking for is just an understanding that the individuals that are reaching out to you have access that others may not, and that doesn't mean they have a priority.
Good afternoon, Council. My name's David Parker. I'm a code enforcement inspector and elected director for MEF to represent PBCE. I'm also in a unique situation because for 7 years I sat on that dais as a member of the Appeals Hearing Board, 5 years as chair. Council members, we have a strong, talented team of inspectors and support staff in code enforcement. Rachel and her team are doing the best they can with the resources that we have. I want to note that even with our workload, the leadership team ensures that we have a positive, professional, and fun work environment. More than half of our inspectors have started within the last 3 years. Many general code inspectors have more than 170 cases and up to 400 cases. This means that one inspector can touch a case maybe 40 to 45 minutes per month. Maybe. In my 3 years as an inspector, what I've learned is many customers don't know what our limits are. There are times when a customer tries to tell me what the law is and what I should be doing. Why don't you just go onto their property? That's not how this works. I'm also here to express my concern about abusive customers. Our inspectors shouldn't have to be subjected to BCC emails where the only goal is to humiliate the inspector. We've had multiple regular customers who place unrealistic demands on our inspectors. While we are committed to upholding the standards set by the city, we need your buy-in to support the work we do without undermining the work in the press by calling our inspectors overzealous or by paying the fines for them. Thank you.
I've called all the names. That's the last speaker.
Okay, great. Coming back to the council, I think that concludes today's study session. Very productive. Thank you all. We are adjourned.